I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men.
This is the ultimate challenge!
I know I've done a few naughty things in my life, but I'm not sure I deserve to be sent to Coventry. Literally. And not only that, I'm here to meet a guy with a fearsome reputation, a fighter who's feared on the deadly cage fighting circuit.
Let's hear it for Barrington! Patterson!
He lives to fight, whether it's outside a pub or in the ring. He'll go up against anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Bashing someone up, the pleasure I'll get out of doing that.
He loves the adrenaline rush that only a fist connecting to flesh can provide.
That's an offensive weapon. You know, I could stand there having a row with him, one bang, bang. Split his skull open, that's a fucking murder.
I'm in the Midlands on my way to meet a vicious cage fighter. His name is Barrington Patterson, also known as Baz.
Weighing in at 110 kilograms, he is from Coventry. Let's hear it for Barrington Patterson!
Cage fighting is a no-holds-barred mix of martial arts. It's brutal, bloody, and a very big business, with more than 300 million fans around the globe. Black belts and fancy moves are no match for the sheer ferocity of this new breed of fighters. Barrington has fought from Russia to Rio and from Hawaii to Holland. But for him, it's not about the belts, the money, or the fame. It's all about the fight. But the time has now come to give it all up. And Barrington is in training for the biggest fight of his career, his last. But he's got a hunger for winning, so he'll treat it as if it's his first.
Barrington is still Barrington. You can't really tame a lion, can you?
He's known to be even scarier out of the ring.
You don't know him and you piss him off. Be at your own peril.
Met this guy a few years ago. Back then he was a football hooligan. If I remember rightly, he was a proper hard geezer.
An important game like this morning, I get up, do my stretching, put my legs up and thought, yeah, I'm gonna kick some fucking ass today and go home. Yeah.
Of all the hooligans I met, he was physically the most imposing of them all. And you could just tell this guy had a passion for violence. I heard he's got his last cage fight coming up. It's been a while since I last saw him. I'm looking forward to seeing if he's changed. He's asked me to meet him at the place where he comes to relax. I certainly wouldn't place him at a golf range, but who am I to argue? It's nice, isn't it? Nice and quaint. There he is, look at the size of him, look, monster. Baz, my old son.
Oh, me old China.
It's been a while, mate, isn't it?
Oh, sweet, mate, you're right.
Good to see you, mate. Yeah, you're looking really well, mate. Didn't expect to see you on a golf range, smashing balls, you know what I mean?
It's just a bit of time for relaxing before I have the big one, you know?
Yeah? So you've been behaving yourself?
That's a naughty word. Me behaving myself.
Barrington learnt all he knows from fighting on the streets as part of Birmingham City's notorious hooligan gang, the Zulu Warriors.
That's in my blood, man. I'm a blues fan. I'll always be a Birmingham City fan. No one will ever take that away from me. I'm a Zulu and that's it, man.
even hooligans have to work. And what better job for Barrington? Bouncing.
I started working when I was 18, 19. And half the time I was fighting 7 nights a week.
Back in the 80s, he could get away with it by hitting first and asking questions later. But in 2001, you couldn't get a doorman's licence with criminal convictions of GBH and assault. Barrington's bouncer career ended.
Practice swing and all? You're saying you're coming at the end of your run now?
Coming to the end of my runway, man. I've had a good run. I've had a brilliant run. I got my last fight in October. I'm going to call it a day,
Do you think you'll be able to call it a day, or was it going to be as easy as that?
No, it's going to be hard. I love having a tear up. I love having a tear up. You know, 2 gladiators in a ring or a cage, just having it off, man.
Yeah, and not getting nicked for it.
I wish I was back in the Roman times, yeah.
Yeah.
Not getting nicked for it, yeah.
Fighting for Barrington started out as a form of defence as a youngster. It then turned into an extreme form of escapism as a teenager. Is it simply to escape the pressures and mishaps that life's thrown at him? And what happens once he gives it all up? How else does he get his kicks? If violence was a drug, Barrington would be an addict. And I don't want to be there when he's going cold turkey. Sorry, mate.
I've been sent to Coventry to spend some time with cage fighter Barrington Patterson. We met up at the most unlikely of places and still managed to take a few hits. This intimidating character was training hard for the final cage fight of his career. Cage fighting combines all the areas of mixed martial arts, including kickboxing, wrestling, karate and boxing. You're allowed to do pretty much anything except poke the other geezer in the eye or fondle his family jewels. Barrington has brought me to one of the gyms he trains at to show me his moves.
Well, me and Baz are going to have a right tear up now. It's been on the cards for a couple of years. You know, I'm popping my pants, to be honest with you. Nice.
Today's lesson is in grappling, aka ground and pound. It's where you get your opponent to the ground and pound the life out of them.
You get on your fours like this.
So you're going to show me a bit of grappling?
Yeah.
So I'll go like that.
So you're grappling like.
Yeah.
You just
all that cake, mate.
Working each other like this.
What you're trying to do is get him in the mouth and round the neck, innit?
I'm trying to get the
that size of it.
Yeah.
Fucking right on the calf, that is. Fuck, man.
Cool.
Oh.
Look at his centre there.
So
the guy's on him, like.
Yeah,
on top of him. Yeah. The guy's flat so he can't move then. Then you can bash him. And you come on there, right underneath his nose there.
Yeah.
Tapping that.
Fucking hell. So basically, that's. I would say there, you ain't really got to work on it too much, really.
No, there is a lot to work on.
Yeah.
Especially, like, if you're standing up.
Yeah.
Well, you get every fight starts from standing up from there. Yeah. So you can either go there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Then do I from there.
Why do you prefer doing this than boxing? I mean, boxing is too restricted. You want to do more?
I've got a disability in the eye.
Okay. No, I'll just ask you about how did that happen to you? Why?
It happened when I was about 7 years. I had an argument with my sister, and she threw a can at me.
A can?
Blinded me in the eye.
Went like that,
I can't remember if it was full of drink, but she threw it at me and it caught me in the eye.
How old was you?
About 7 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got no pupil in this eye.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah.
So
of course.
I couldn't get a licence to box.
Is that not a disability with this as well, though? I mean,
it doesn't stop me.
Well,
you know, if they gave me a licence to box, I'm sure I'd put. I'm sure I'd do a good job at it as well, but can't get a licence to box.
And that's okay.
I can get a licence to cage fight. I can get a licence to kickbox. You know, look at my disability, like I said, I've got. And I've already been knocked out once, and I've been all over the world fighting.
The more I get to know about Baz, the more I admire him. I can't believe he fought in over 20 professional fights, and all with just one eye. He's a man who works hard to get what he wants, and he won't let anything get in his way. But I have to wonder what sort of a childhood he had, if cans were being thrown around the place. It must be hard to see those right hooks coming at you.
Had a little bit of a grapple with a Baz. It's interesting because obviously last time I met him, you know, he's just a football hooligan. He's talking about, you know, street brawling and kicking off in mass numbers, where actually he's quite a serious fighter, you know what I mean? He takes it very seriously. And I've not seen that side to him yet, you know, and he's very impressive, and the power on the man. I mean, let me just tell you something now. When you got Baz laying on top of you, you know about it.
Barrington's final cage fight will be in Rotterdam against Dutch fighter Bob Schreiber, aka Dirty Bob.
This character, he's a legend. You know, it's like referring to football. Somebody's had the opportunity to play football against Pele or Georgie Best or someone. I've seen him put so many people's lights out.
I've always liked the way this guy fights, the way he carries himself. I respect the guy a lot, and this will be it.
With his kickboxing background, Barrington's kicking and punching is very strong.
If he hits you with that right hand, you stay hit, you're going to sleep for a long time. Barrington's other good asset is his feet. He's so flexible with his feet. He's knocked people out in here with head kicks.
Bob is an all-rounder, and whilst Barrington may have looked like a good grappler against me, grappling is actually his weakest area, and Bob will no doubt use this to his advantage.
He might try to take Barrington to ground because he knows that's his weakness. If he goes on his back, that's where he's weak, and a good ground fighter always does well against Barrington, so we don't want him on his back, we want him standing up.
Barrington will have to train hard to make sure that Dirty Bob doesn't manage to get him to the ground. If this happens, he could not only lose, he could be seriously injured. With only a few months to go, Barrington needs all the help he can get with his grappling. The best way for him to practice is to go up against a strong opponent and spar a few rounds. Barrington is a well-known figure in these parts, and it's a big turnout considering it's just a spar. Today, he'll be going up against Mark Goddard. Mark is a true professional fighter, about to break into the UFC circuit. They're the same weight, but Mark is 10 years younger, so no doubt he'll give Barrington a good workout.
I'm just excited, really. There's a nice little bit of tension in the air, and I just want to see it go. You know? And if they both keep getting leery, I'll jump in the cage and I'll knock the pair of them out.
His girlfriend Lucy has come along to watch with her daughter Mia and Barrington's son, Kai. They're not fighting at full power because neither of them want to get hurt, but it's still an essential part of training for Barrington in the lead-up to his big fight. Grappling is one of Mark's specialities, so he's the perfect sparring partner for Barrington.
Go on, Baz. Yeah, it's quite a bit more lively than what I thought it was going to be honest with you. You know, he's got his retirement fight coming up, so he couldn't, you know, he didn't want to go full throttle, but you just get a sense. Just imagine that man running towards you, you know what I mean? It's, you know, it's powerful stuff, you know. I mean, how does it make you feel watching your man, though, in a ring, top off, being a right, you know, being a warrior? Does it do it for you or what?
Do it for me. It must do, mustn't it?
Does it for me, babe, I've got to tell you that now. How did you like it? Don't it scare you, watching that? It does scare you a little bit, yeah? Yeah? You don't want to see him get hurt, do you? But that was all right, that, though, wasn't it? Because it was a bit like play fighting, wasn't it? Yeah? How's it feel, you know? He's a beautiful kid, but how's it feel having a little
it's
here?
nice. I want him to be a fighter as well.
Oh, you do, yeah?
Yeah, I'd love him to be a fighter.
Oh, you'd agree with that?
He's too good. He's too good.
He's too good looking, isn't he?
As you can see, he's too good looking for that.
He's got a good bow about him. He's got a good hairdo about him as well. But you quite like having him there, just watching you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he fights every day.
Yeah.
He goes in my bag, puts my gloves on.
Yeah.
And he bashes me, and I'll bash him back as well. So
yeah.
I'll sneak the little 1 or 2 hard ones in.
Chopping the boy up early doors.
Yeah.
The kids have clearly picked up some tips, but I think Kai's got a bit more work to do staying on his feet. Barrington has to make a living to fund all this training. He used to work as a doorman. In 2001, new laws came in, and with his criminal convictions for assault, he can't get a licence. So he now oversees a team of 50 men who run over 20 of Coventry's toughest doors.
I'm a consultant in my mate's security company called Jab UK. My job is to go and check on the door and make sure they're on time, they're dressed properly, and any issues, any problems, I'll try and sort them out for my doorman. So I know a lot of people anyway, so it keeps a lot of pressure off my doorman.
With a population of 300,000, over 7,500 violent crimes are reported in Coventry every year. Most of these are alcohol-related offences. It's Barrington's job to oversee sorting out the dodgy doors that no one else will touch.
He's going to give me a rare insight into the dark and dangerous world of being a Coventry doorman. For most people, their job's 9 till 5, but for Barrington, it's 8 till 4 a.m, where he runs some of Coventry's most dangerous clubs. So how does it work overnight then? I mean, what you running back and forth or what?
Most times just doing this, running backwards and forwards to and from Leamington to Coventry all the time.
I mean, do people start on you? Do you get people that try and get Larry around you?
Only when they're fucking pissed.
I was going to say, because I'm not being funny, have you got any sense, right? And why is anyone going to start giving it to you? Do you know what I mean?
You see, like around most arseholes in Coventry, everyone wants to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, but listen, coming up to you ain't going to make a name for yourself. All you're going to do is you're going to mug yourself off. And what you're getting at, out the motor to 30 geezers or what? You know what I mean?
Sometimes you are. That's why I play golf as well, you see.
What do you mean? What?
That's why I play golf.
Just to de-stress yourself?
Nah, keep my club in the back.
OK, gotcha.
A few minutes into our tour, and Barrington spots some trouble. Me and the TV crew is a sure way of attracting all the nutters.
That's a legend. Sure.
Hello, darling. How you doing? Pleasure. See you later. I've got to be honest with you. I've only been down here 5 minutes and already it's kicking off left, right and centre. It's about 10 o'clock already. It's that mad mentality in the town. Nutty birds everywhere. I feel a bit digi. Even though I've got Barrington around me, I feel a little bit digi. Let's jump back in the motor lively. Tell me about some of the trouble that you've had around this sort of
When I first started back working here in 1988, 89, one of my mates, who was a doorman, he got stabbed to death just outside here. I was there the night when a guy got shot. That's the place there where I got attacked myself by a geezer with a knife.
Really?
Yeah.
As a doorman, I would say it's a tough job in the fact that you're almost a sitting duck in the fact that if you throw somebody out,
yeah,
they know exactly where you're going to be, don't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, I'm sure you get a lot of threats.
Like, for instance, in there one night, this guy was arguing with his girlfriend. I pulled him off and he swung a punch from me. I banged him, knocked him out. Standing there 5 minutes later, he drove a car through the door.
He drove a car
through the door. Man to the pavement, the car comes straight through the door. Now when guys say to you, I'm coming back, that's when you got to take them things seriously.
You do, yeah.
Because they do come back. And half the time they're coming back with a gun or something like that. Like years ago when guys say, I'm going to shoot you, you just laugh, fuck off, it's about laugh it off. Now you got to take them seriously, man.
If
someone says to me I'm coming back with a gun, I'm slapping the fucking head off you.
Yeah.
This door business is a really full-on job. It's not just standing around checking people's ID. These guys are putting their lives on the line. This is Sponge Street, a stretch of road so dangerous that even 2 of the chip shops need security.
feel like I'm in lawless Britain.
For the first time since filming this series, I've been provided with a bit of security, and I can tell you, I feel much safer with Baz and his mate Andre watching me back. Visiting one more bar in the roughest end of town might not have been the best idea. With my mug here, I have a feeling that Baz is getting more attention than usual. It's like being trapped in the opposition stand at an away match. I'm a bit worried about how he's going to react.
His reputation in Coventry is, don't annoy Barrington. He'll give you a chance. He'll give you an option to go. If he punches him with his power, he's probably liable to break the neck. So he tends to just hit you with an open hand, which usually does the trick.
Andre keeps me out of harm's way, whilst Barrington takes care of a little business. He calls in one of his doormen to do the dirty work.
Right, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I just want to go back to the hotel. Barrington's at it all night. I'll say good luck to him, mate. I tell you.
Barrington Patterson is a cage fighter.
Triple right hand. Let's go.
Who's on a strict training regime leading up to his last ever fight. He spends hours every day running, grappling, kickboxing, doing weights, working on every aspect of his fight to get in the best possible shape. He stays focused during training by avoiding alcohol, eating well, and getting lots of sleep. Well, as much as he can when he's not supervising the doors.
I was out with Barrington all night last night. I got a sense of what his job's like, how manic it is. I think the best way to get to know someone is to see him in their home environment, so he's invited me around his gaff. How are you, sunshine?
Oh, not too bad, mate, yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look, gets on that parrot, look. Is that your best pal, then, that parrot?
Yeah. Hello.
All right, pal? How you doing? Everything in order? Oh, mate.
Come here, man.
Barrington wants to show me the footage of one of his fights. Entertainment the whole family can enjoy.
What's that feeling there, though, Baz? It's built up.
It's just unbelievable, man. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. You just want to get in there and get it on.
Barrington tends to be aggressive right from the start.
No eyeballing, nothing. You're just going to get straight on with it, mate.
Barrington just so strong.
Oh.
A few minutes in, Barrington starts to look in trouble, but it's not because of a punch.
Had old deep heat all over his body. So when I got in close to him, he's rubbing my face on his chest, and my eyes started burning me.
Really?
Which is illegal to have deep heat on your bloody body.
Is that why you picked him up and threw him?
So I think he's had to adapt.
Oh, he's caught you there, isn't it?
Barrington may want to put more snap into his kicks if he's going to kick him.
That's where I ended up breaking 2 bones.
Really?
Yeah,
from that?
From that, yeah.
Barrington trying to keep the distance.
So you're still kicking off when you broke your hand?
Yeah.
Two completely opposing. Oh, nice trip there.
Injuries are rife in this sport and can range from traumatic brain damage to joint injuries and fractures, and once, even death.
This could be the beginning of the end. A big heavy shot. And again, the left hook.
Get hold of that, mate. Get hold of that. Yeah.
I think there's more of a buzz in a match or on the street than this, yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, this is a controlled environment.
Yeah.
This is controlled.
Yeah.
Whereas out on the streets, and
anything goes.
Anything goes.
The chaos of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's also that feeling, I suppose, of having to tear up with a group of people. And in there, you're on your jack.
Exactly.
And the right. Barrington's chin's up.
Is that it, yeah?
Yeah, that's it, man.
Oh, man.
Done him proper.
What a feeling.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner in 1 minute 33 seconds.
I've seen him in action. I think it's time to challenge Baz to a few rounds.
Yeah.
I've picked up a few tips along the way. I reckon I can take him.
Fucking hell. I'm a bird, look. Bird, it'd be right off here. It could sort of switch on him here, because he might get up by a bird. Easy. Bump, bump. Oh!
Am I winning, Kai?
No, he's going over. He's been tumbled by a bird. He's gone over as a treacle and all.
I can't believe you come to my house and beat me in my own fucking house.
I know. It's the only time I'll be knocking your daddy out. Don't you worry about that.
Go on, show you around
Come in,
upstairs.
son. Show me upstairs. See you later, my old son. We'll have a bond up later.
Me little gaff.
Barrington has 4 daughters to 3 different women, but his youngest child and only son, Kai, is the apple of his eye.
Blue bedroom, I see.
Yeah.
Is it nice to finally have a boy in?
Yeah, I've always wanted a boy. I've got 4 girls now and my boy, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with that, man. I finally got a boy.
Yeah. No, it's nice, isn't it? I'd like to have a boy
I
myself.
love all my kids, but my boy's different.
Yeah, it's your boy. It's your little soldier, isn't it? He's a good kid as well, isn't he?
But you have to wonder what his relationship is like with his daughters.
He's the oldest with you, though. I mean, obviously, you've not seen her since she was 6 months.
Yeah, I haven't seen her since about 6 months old, but like I said, I'm not that hard to find, man. You know what I mean?
Are you intrigued, though? You must be intrigued.
I am, especially when I'm in Birmingham quite often, and I'm thinking someone walks past, I think that could be my daughter, I don't know, but I'm just getting on with my life, man. You know what I mean? I'm not that hard to find.
Barrington's own father wasn't around when he was growing up.
Well, my mum and dad were living together. I think it was about 6 or 7 of us. And when we were living in Barrington, my dad was in some trouble, stabbed this Asian guy and ended up in jail.
Without a father figure there to guide him, Barrington fell in with the wrong crowd.
All right, mate.
How's it going? You all right?
I'm Baz. Little Baz. Zulu Warrior, BCFC, you got the one.
Many of these guys were also involved. The Zulu Warriors, Birmingham City's notorious football hooligan gang. Football hooliganism was rife in the 80s, and the Zulus had a reputation for football violence, and Baz was always on the front line. Racial tension was high in Birmingham in the 80s, and the Zulus had a checkered history. The original Birmingham City firm was made up of right-wing skinheads. Music, fashion, and the large multiracial population of Birmingham soon had its effect, and the Zulus were born.
Black, white, Indian. You're Birmingham, that's it, no matter what colour you are. So it's not just because it's Zulu, it's not a black thing. We're just Birmingham. Everyone wants to fight us.
His mate Scouse was often on the front line next to him. They decided to go for a drive back to Birmingham City Football Stadium.
Like Birmingham City's just over there, so all these little back streets here, in the past have been very active. Battlegrounds, man.
Whilst they talk in past tense, it was only recently that Barrington got into trouble with the police on the way to a game.
His friend was in trouble, and he's that sort of
I ain't gonna see what 20, 30 Leng jumping on my mate, bashing my mate with truncheon, even while he's on the floor. I ain't gonna stand there and watch that happen. I'm not gonna stand there and watch that happen to anybody in my company. No matter if it's my friend or not, if you're in my company, I ain't gonna stand there and watch it happen. I jumped in there. Got gas, got bashed, just one of them.
Barrington got charged with assault and obstructing the police. He was fined £100 and lucky to escape a jail term.
You know, at the end of the day, I'm a martial artist. Tell you the truth, it takes one kick or one punch to kill someone. You know, I could stand there having a row with him, one bang, bang. He's gonna fall down, bang his head, split his skull open. That's a fucking murder.
If he used the same power on the streets that he uses in the ring, he could get himself into some serious trouble.
I wouldn't like to go back inside, but you never know what's around the corner, man. Nah, it's not fun, man. The food's fucking shit. The screws are shit. I And half the people are shit. You know, you can't go for a fucking shit without someone watching you. You know, you can't probably toss your fucking salad without someone watching you.
Inside, Birmingham supporters trying to get out onto this outstanding.
From what I know about football hooligans, these firms see themselves as more than friends. Together as the Zulus, they become family, a tribe. It's the violence they face together that strengthens their bond. With no father around, maybe Barrington was looking for a sense of belonging with the Zulus. Barrington grew up in an inner city area called Handsworth. Every Sunday, he goes to visit his mum who still lives there.
You're glad it's my last fight?
Yes, I tell him to pack it in long time ago, but him say him love it, so that's why I leave him to it. You know, make him make up his mind when he's ready.
Enough's enough. I've had a good run. I've had a brilliant run. I've been fighting for 17, 18 years.
Barrington's sister and nieces join him.
This is my daughter. We're not fighters really, we just, we love the gym.
Church people.
We go to church, yeah.
We're trying to get him into it, but...
And I believe, by faith, he's coming through. He's coming through. Yes, he is.
They've got a long wait, man. As I say, man,
That's what you think.
Listen, as I say, man, I'm just too busy spending time looking good.
Even to be able to do the sport and the kickboxing that he does, and to get so far in it, he thinks it's him. It's not him. It's God.
Hold on, excuse me. I've done all the physical work.
But God's given you the strength and the health and the ability to do it all. So that's it.
It's all God.
I've done the most important part of it. He's given me the strength to get in the ring and fight, but I'm the one who's actually getting into the ring fighting and coming away with a couple of bruises.
You're contradicting yourself.
Listen.
You just said he's giving you the strength to get in the ring and fight, but then you just said you're the one that's getting.
Yeah, but I'm the one who's getting the bruises, though, aren't I?
His family have clearly tried to steer him into what they think is the correct path in life. As his last fight approaches, Barrington has decided he wants to give something back by using his skills to train up and coming fighters.
I do a lot of teaching. I help a lot in my kickboxing club, and I have a lot of one-to-one personal lessons myself. What I do, you know, like winning, and it's nice going to like our tournaments, whatever, crowd tournaments, and helping the kids out, and it makes me feel a lot better. I feel nice and proud, knowing that I've helped that person to get that trophy to show his mum and dad, and it's nice to get another Barrington, another up-and-coming guy, doing the things that I used to do.
Tonight is going to be a big night at the Coventry Skydome.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ultimate Challenge!
Fighters come from all over Europe to fight here. Barrington's come to see one of the fighters he's training. 20-year-old Danny Hudson. It's his first professional bout, and he's sounding confident.
Very glad Barrington could be here to watch it tonight. I'm planning to go out there and knock the guy out, you know, do what Barrington's taught me quite well.
It's been a high standard of fighting so far. And now, it's Danny's turn to take to the cage.
This is Danny in the cage. Watch it for Danny Hudson!
Get that jab going, Danny! Jab, Danny! Jab, Danny! Jab! Jab, Danny!
It soon becomes clear that Danny's outclassed.
Danny! Come on, Danny!
Barrington don't look too impressed.
Where's Danny? Just over there. Oh, I've got to give him a piece of my fucking mind. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll tell you what. That was fucking pathetic. Pathetic. You threw a high kick to the fucking goal with so much force, the goal was nowhere near you. You spun yourself round. What happened to your fucking groundwork? That went out the fucking window.
Got to work on your stand-up.
Your stand-up's gone out, right out the fucking window, Danny. Right out the fucking window, man. That was shit. That's the worst I've ever fucking seen you, mate. As soon as the guy put you under pressure, you crumbled, Danny. You crumbled. It's definitely back to the drawing board for Danny, man. You know what I mean? I don't think he even really left the drawing board today, so it's one of them things. Shit happens, and that's it.
This hard love approach is obviously all Barrington knows. Either way, I wouldn't want to be one of Barrington's students if they lose. And come to think of it, I wouldn't want to come up against him during a football riot or be thrown out of one of his pubs. But as this hard man prepares for his last fight, has he thought about what lies ahead? As Barrington watches his son play, his love for him is obvious. But I wonder if not having a father around has made Barrington the person he is today.
Like my dad, like I said, I didn't know my dad till I was 14 years old. I was in the house one day and this letter coming through the door. My mum picked it up and threw it on the side. I was just curious why she threw a letter on the side. When I picked it up, opened the letter, and it was to do with some court case in London, something to do with my dad. Never seen my dad before. I had one picture of my dad, what my grandmother had. And me and a mate from the school bunged the train, stayed in the toilet, went to this courthouse in London, and that's when I met him when I was about 14 years old. Yeah.
What was you told as a kid then about him? Nothing? Or?
I was just told that he was in jail. Stabbed the guy and was in jail.
And how was it, that first meeting? I mean, was you disappointed in it? Or?
Well, I went to the courthouse and I didn't have a clue what it looks like. I went to the courthouse and they said, oh, this case and that case and that. I just stood there like that. And then he turned around and looked at me and I looked at him and...
Sort of knew, did you?
Yeah, just sort of knew, yeah.
Barrington re-established a relationship with his father from that moment on, and they were very close, right up until his death in 2006.
It was nice to be there the actual day, the night he died. And I cried my eyes out. I'm a man just like everyone else.
With the memory of his dad driving him on, Barrington must now focus on the biggest challenge of his life. He's training like a madman for the last fight of his career. I've been spending time in Coventry with cage fighter Baz Patterson as he trains hard for the last fight of his career. After years of honing his skills fighting on the streets as a football hooligan and nightclub doorman, Barrington is facing his toughest test, a once-in-a-lifetime crack at the world title.
How you feeling about going back to Holland? You can't wait to get out of here.
This is the guy I'm fighting next in Holland.
Is it?
Yeah, that's Bob the Terrible Scriber. Proper dirty fighter and everything.
Is he?
Yeah.
Have you fought him before?
No, I haven't fought him before. One of my idols.
Really?
Yeah. But he's coming out of retirement to fight me.
Most stereotypical hard men are all talk and no action. But this bloke definitely follows through with his threats. He won't let anything stand in the way of getting what he wants.
Rotterdam's Ahoy Arena is in for a battle. It's the location for this heavyweight terror. His opponent, legendary Dutch fighter Bob Schreiber, has come out of a 3.5-year retirement to take on Baz and is determined to make sure it's worth it.
I do everything to win, everything. I never quit.
Both men prefer to end their fights with a knockout, so it's going to be brutal.
I've wanted this fight from day one, but at least I finally got what I wanted now, and that's it. Yeah. All I want to do now is just go on with that belt, and that's it. Man.
And there's
my life story's completed.
contest will be fought over 2 5-minute rounds, with the winner crowned king of the ring. With the tension mounting, Baz enters the arena for his final battle. Kicks into play. This is looking like a mismatch. But Bob's saved by the bell.
Come on, listen. You can take him. You could have won it in that round, but don't worry. He's tired, Barrington. Barrington, he's tired.
Baz starts the second round as he ended the first, on top. But Bob fights back, landing some heavy blows. It looks like Baz may have blown his chance. This is a proper tear-up. It's every man for himself, and it's turning into a street fight, just how Baz likes it. To a points decision, and it's on Bob's home turf. I'm not sure Baz has done enough. The relief's too much for him. All his hard work's been worth it. The story seems complete for Barrington. He's gone out a winner, and for now, at least, he seems satisfied with his lot.
That's it for me, man. End of.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm tracking down some of the most feared men in the world, operating on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered to be some of the world's deadliest men.
I've spent time with some dodgy geezers so far, but now I'm waiting to meet a man who's risked his life to keep villains like them banged up.
In his 10 years as an undercover policeman, this bloke was responsible for taking down dozens of villains and helped stop millions of pounds worth of drugs hitting the streets of London.
Undercover work is exciting, it's scary, it's intoxicating.
He was one of Scotland Yard's finest, and he went deeper undercover than any other detective before him.
He's in danger. Move him, move his family, move them quickly.
With each job he took and each role he played, he risked not only his life, but his sanity.
The price that you pay for a bad performance could be your life.
But how long can you spend living a double life before it takes control of you? This guy was able to lurk in the shadows while he threw the spotlight onto the bad guys. He's agreed to speak openly about the secretive role of being an undercover cop. His name is Peter Bleksley, but he's known as Blex. Cautioning drunks and arresting shoplifters as your average bobby on the streets of London can be pretty scary. But going undercover, getting up close and personal with the bad guys, and then double-crossing them, that's just downright deadly. Blex joined the police force for one very good reason. It wasn't to help little old ladies across the street, it was to get the bad guys off them.
I put hundreds of people away for thousands of years.
He's had petrol bombs and bricks thrown at him. He's been shot at and even stabbed in the neck. Peter Bleksley excelled as a detective and went on to become one of the founding members of Scotland Yard's elite undercover force, SO10.
He didn't look like your kind of clean-cut image of a traditional detective or a traditional policeman.
Using the skills he honed from being an undercover cop, today Blex continues to put his life on the line working as a private eye.
Peter's still putting his own life at risk, but he enjoys it. You know, he knows what he's doing.
When he's not doing that, he works as a consultant on films and cop dramas.
All the best scripts come from people who've really lived their lives, because you can't make it up.
Life's never normal for these guys doing this dangerous and secretive work. Now, Peter's asked to meet me here. Feel a little bit uneasy. Feel like I'm being watched, I'll be straight with you. He's probably been sitting here an hour. You never know with coppers, do you? You know what I mean?
Why would a man who has spent most of his career undercover want to show his face on TV?
Here we go. Looks like a copper and all. How you doing, Pete?
Thanks, how are you?
Good, mate, yeah, good as gold.
There's something really intense about this guy. Usually I like to get to know someone before I delve too deep, but Blex don't mess about. He starts off telling me about one of his dead informants.
He was such a prolific informant. I mean, he'd grass up his granny if there was a few quid in it. He grassed up so many people that in the end, he was asking for it, you know what I mean? And when it happened, it came as no surprise to me personally.
Squealer, snitch, grass, whatever you want to call them. Informants are a necessary evil in the battle against crime, and undercover cops can't work without them. It was Blex's job to keep him sweet and get information out of them. For his safety, he'd meet him in public places.
So this is the pub we used to meet then, is it?
Yeah, we had many meetings in there, you know, discussing who he was going to grass up next and how we were going to get him nicked.
I mean, how would you go about recruiting an informant? I mean, how would the process work?
Well, a lot of them are volunteers. I mean, and many of them find themselves getting nicked. And I think, well, the best way to get a vastly reduced sentence is to roll over and become a grass.
The information given would often lead to Blex going undercover to try and catch big-time drug dealers in action. But sometimes that meant having to break the law himself.
So where do you draw the line? Well, when you're working undercover, there's no rule book. You know, a lot of the time you've got to make it up as you go along. And you've got to do whatever is necessary to keep your cover. Yes, I had a spliff. Yeah, I took a line of Charlie occasionally when I was with the bad guys. But only because if I hadn't, it would have been a deal breaker.
Sounds like an okay job to me. But I'm not sure how you can be a copper and a villain at the same time. He had to appear to be as ruthless as the criminals he was double-crossing, but it's a dangerous game that only the fearless dare enter. Peter Bleksley is one of Britain's toughest ex-undercover cops. He did what he did for the adrenaline, for the high, the addictive buzz that only putting your life on the line could provide. Throughout his undercover career, he took on many different disguises to help him get into character.
I always had quite a wide and varied wardrobe just to suit whatever role I was playing. I've kind of kept this leather jacket for sentimental reasons. I've had this many, many years, and I wore that on many a drugs buy or when I was pretending to be a contract killer.
His physical appearance also kept changing to suit each role he took on.
You have to maintain being that person. And if you're being particularly unpleasant, and I'm sorry about this, pal, but I've got to stick you up against the wall and give you a rub down now, because you could be undercover old Bill, you might be a Mickey Mouse kind of donut with a 9mm on you. You know, I've got to do that, pal. Get up against the wall, right? You'd have to do that. You know, and I wouldn't treat people in normal life like that, but, you know, I'm out there buying millions of pounds worth of drugs, you know what I mean? I'm not playing a game, you know, when your life depends on it, other people's lives might depend on your performance, then you have to be thoroughly, utterly, totally convincing.
Peter's choice of career clearly isn't for the faint-hearted. You have to be tough, dedicated, not afraid of anything.
So when was it that you decided to go into the police force?
Well, my mum actually was quite a strong influence in me joining the cops. You know, I think she knew that I was, you know, a bit of a lost soul kind of thing, you know, and I needed some discipline to sort of sort me out.
Peter graduated top of his class at Hendon College and was posted to Peckham Police Station.
South East London, social deprivation, a lot of racism going on. There was a large Afro-Caribbean community in Peckham. And, you know, the cops, the people I was working with, were basically just rampant racists.
I wanted to find out a bit more about Peter's early life as a copper. So I've come to a place that was instrumental in shaping his career, the streets of Brixton. In April 1981, Brixton was an area that had deep social and economic problems, high unemployment, high crime and poor housing.
The police focused disproportionately on young black men. And in Brixton, the police launched Operation Swamp. And basically what they did was got every policeman they could muster onto the streets of Brixton with the instructions to stop and search young black men. Now this caused a huge amount of resentment because young black guys couldn't walk the streets without being stopped, searched, harassed, and quite often fitted up for crimes that they hadn't committed.
The stop and search, or sus law, caused much discontent in the black community and tensions were running high. On the 10th of April 1981, a police patrol stopped to help a black youth who had been stabbed in the back. The onlooking crowd thought the police stopped to arrest rather than assist the youth. Rumours spread and violence erupted.
Now, I played a cop on TV, but I wouldn't fancy playing one of the boys in blue that has to tackle a rioting mob.
Was a scene unknown in the United Kingdom outside Ulster since the Blitz.
Peter was part of the response team called in to calm the hostile crowd.
What was the scene like when you first arrived?
Got here in the afternoon. A small but vocal and violent crowd had gathered, and the police had had a bit of a hiding. And when we got here, the crowd had started slinging bricks and stones and bottles, anything they could lay their hands on. The resentment and the hatred, you know, you could really cut the atmosphere with a knife. You know, the hatred, the seething hatred amongst the crowd for us was unbelievable. We had some shields, so we cowered behind them to start with, but they turned out to be pretty... Well, there wasn't enough for us, and there wasn't enough shields, you know.
The police were not only outnumbered, they were also unprepared for the amount of artillery that would be used against them.
You know, what had happened is overnight, they'd armed themselves with petrol bombs and more rubble and all that sort of thing. So they came back on Saturday a much better armed and equipped and sort of organised mob, if you will.
So there was more police injured than rioters, yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean, we as the police got an almighty hiding, really, if the truth be known. You know, there was a lot of very bad injuries to the cops, But you know, it had been coming. You know.
Yeah. So would you say it was a deserved hiding, really?
Well, yeah. You know, we kind of asked for it. You know, if you go onto the streets and you harass a section of the population till they feel they're forced into a corner and they've got nowhere to go and their voice can't be heard, then how are they going to express themselves? They're going to take to the streets and they're going to riot.
For 3 days and nights, the streets of Brixton were torn apart by one of the biggest riots to rock Britain's history. Reports suggested that up to 5,000 people were involved. 299 police and 65 members of the public were injured. 28 buildings were burned and 61 cars set alight. Peter was lucky to escape without any physical injury, but the riots did leave some psychological impact.
I decided that this wasn't the policing that I wanted to do, to go to war with the local population. That wasn't my idea of policing.
Yeah.
So I just decided that's it. I'd had enough of uniform. You know, I didn't want to wear that cloth, which was symbolic of the hatred that there was towards the police.
It was a major turning point in his life, and today, nearly 30 years on, Peter wants to set the record straight. Rioter Alex Wheatle went on the straight and narrow after the riots and is now a successful author. His award-winning novel, East of Acre Lane, was inspired by the Brixton riots.
I remember throwing all kinds of missiles along with whoever was around me at the time, and you guys having to go into people's front porches and gardens to try and get dustbin lids to protect yourselves. I saw the police running away, the helmets falling off and all that kind of thing.
At times during that weekend, I was scared, very scared. Our training was wholly inadequate. The equipment was wholly inadequate. You know, we had flimsy helmets, you know, that didn't offer a lot of protection, and I was scared. How were you feeling?
Exhilarated.
Right.
Exhilarated to actually see the police retreat. I mean, we've never seen that.
Right.
Taking a step backwards. I mean, we cheered every step that you retreated. It was incredible to see that.
One very contentious issue that still causes debate amongst the police and rioters alike is the actual cause of the riots.
Was you aware of the rumours sweeping the whole of Brixton that night?
Well,
the police had actually killed somebody?
Yes, yeah.
You was aware?
Yeah, and what we got told was that when the stabbed victim was lying on the road, that a cop knelt on his back and put his knee over the wound.
His knee, to stop the bleeding?
To stem the bleeding. That's what.
Okay.
That was what we were getting told. But then, of course, that was getting misinterpreted, that the cops were like, you know, pinning him down and were responsible in some way for what happened to him.
Each side has their own version of events, but there were some moments of clarity amongst the chaos on that day.
For the first time since I came to Brixton in 1977, I saw beyond the uniform.
Right.
I saw a real person, real fear, and I was thinking, well, maybe he's got a mother, maybe he's got a sister, maybe he's got a brother.
I can only speak for myself, but, you know, for any of the fit-ups, the beatings, you know, and all that kind of stuff, look back, and it's not too late to offer an apology, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of, to anybody that was a victim, you know, of that at the time, you know.
Allegations of racism within the Metropolitan Police continue to this very day. Peter is clearly a man with a conscience, and this was one role he didn't enjoy playing.
It's a first for me, really. I've never done a copper before. I'm always, you know, sort of dealing with, you know, the villains and, you know, it's more usually about talking the talk, walking the walk. You know, this guy, he's not what I expected him to be at all. He's got a lot of charisma about him. I can see that. I can see he's obviously, you know, seen some pretty dangerous things. You know, he's been around some dangerous people.
A year after the Brixton riots, Blex became a plainclothes detective and eventually made it onto Scotland Yard's drug squad. Soon he was kicking in doors and arresting people all over London. This form of high-octane and high-adrenaline policing came with its own risks, as Blex found out the hard way when one suspect took him by surprise.
And the door's flown open and he's seen me, you know, at his door, and I've shouted police, and with that he's just gone voomf and stabbed me in the neck. Well, fortunately I got hold of his wrist, which has got the knife in it. Of course, on the end of the blade of the knife is my blood.
Is there little moments of like, as if you go, right, that was a close call, or?
No, not really. I think I, had to stay off of work for a couple of days.
Yep.
But I was just itching to get back to work, I was addicted to the job.
Life as a detective suited Blex. He was always dangerous, and whilst he was out of uniform, he wasn't far from the front line. In May 1985, convicted murderer James Bakery escaped from Salton Prison near Edinburgh. Police had a tip-off that he'd been working as a builder, and Peter had just visited Bakery's last known address when he spotted a white van.
I stuck my head in through the van, and from beneath a blanket, a head popped up. And I reached for my gun, and I said, "I'm an armed police officer." And with that, Bakery just put his hands to the side and pulled up a sawn-off double-barreled shotgun. By this time, I'm in the van, he's set up, and the shotgun was literally a matter of inches from my face.
His police training kicked in. He kept his cool and ran out of the line of fire as fast as he could. He maintained cover and waited for backup. Negotiators set up a telephone link with Bakery in an attempt to get him to surrender. He'd been on the run for over a year, and he didn't want to go back to prison.
But as marksmen continued their long wait, there's been no sign of movement from the vehicle since yesterday.
After 44 hours, with no end in sight, police had no choice but to fire a couple of CS gas canisters into the van in an attempt to lure him out.
21 seconds after those gas canisters were fired, Bakery shot himself.
I think if I'd stayed at the back of the van any longer and tried to pull out my weapon, he'd have definitely shot me. This was probably as close as I ever got to losing my life in the line of duty.
I can't believe he remained so calm with a shotgun pointed in his face. The more I get to know Blex, the more I respect him. He's a proper hard man, and he doesn't scare easily. Life as a detective for Blex wasn't all about getting stabbed and having shotguns pulled on him. He also spent time interviewing victims, setting up wiretaps, and my personal favourite, surveillance.
Tell me a little bit about surveillance, Pete. Obviously, that was a very important part of your job, so, just tell me a little bit about how that would work.
Yeah, well, in the police, surveillance was very important because surveillance teams would watch me when I was working undercover. They'd be there to cover my back.
And how do you manage to sort of blend into any environment?
It's about everything you do, how you speak, how you act. And you've got to be able to you've got to be very flexible, you've got to be adaptable, you've got to be resourceful, you've got to think on your feet.
Blex was very skilled at making himself invisible, a powerful weapon in this game. To give me an idea of how surveillance works, we're going to follow a member of our crew.
Here we go, there she is. She's into the vehicle. And the vehicle's off, down Rowton Road. So all units hold back, and she's done a right. I have eyeball. Hold back all units.
Is this the right distance, is it? I mean, obviously, it's quite close, I would have thought.
Well, yeah, unfortunately here, I'm a little bit exposed because I haven't got any other traffic for cover.
How many sort of motors would you have then? I mean, 3 motors? Would that be enough to swap over? Would that be enough to
Yeah,
to not give the game away, would it?
We used to have teams of anything up to 17 of us.
Yep. Okay. So 17, God.
Yeah, so you know.
That's a proper bit of surveillance out, isn't it?
So now, just quite naturally, you see, we're in a very sort of unhurried manner.
You see where the adrenaline comes from, man. What a job, you know what I mean? Keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so she's out of the vehicle. Right, let's go. Nice and natural. Don't draw attention to yourself. She's letting herself in with a key.
Obvious where she lives now, so you don't have to look over there, do you, so much?
Well,
Just
she
keep
might
walking.
not be living there, she might be visiting there.
Okay.
You know, although she's got a key and let herself in, you know, assumption is the death of all investigations. And there you see she's opening her curtains up there.
Not job of a voyeur, I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, on the off chance you could strip off now. I mean, what are you going to do? You going to look away or what? I mean, I'd have a good pipe.
Well, you know, you're there to gather intelligence for your client,
That's
aren't you?
right.
You know?
And if that means she's got to take, you know, take a few bits off, then you've got to get that information back, I would have thought.
Peter Bleksley was an undercover cop up against some of the deadliest gangsters and drug pushers in the UK. He bent the rules, but he got results. Crossing the line meant risking his life to keep his cover.
The job is extremely dangerous. When you're dealing with serious criminals, you're dealing with serious amounts of money, you're dealing with drugs, you're dealing with firearms, you're dealing with organised crime. Without any shadow of a doubt, their lives are at risk.
Hard drugs like heroin and crack became easily available in Britain in the 80s. It was Bleksley's job to get the drugs off the streets, and sometimes this meant using undercover tactics. By 1987, Scotland Yard realised that it needed a full-time undercover unit.
We got hold of about half a dozen guys who had done undercover work. Peter Bleksley was one of these guys that we pulled in, and we said, look, tell us what it is you do, tell us how you do it, tell us what you need to do it better.
To make it in the undercover world, Blex had to be more than the average detective.
We needed people who could act, could really be convincing. You know, walk into a pub and when someone stabs you in the chest and you know that that man may have a gun or may be a serious criminal, and he says, you are a copper, prove to me you're not, and he gets you by the scruff of the neck, that person's got to be tough enough not to sort of scream, press the panic button or give the signal for the aid to come and help.
During his 10 years as an undercover cop, Blex took on a variety of roles and busted many drug deals.
Lying was my game, and I was very good at it. I was convincing. People didn't take me as a cop. You know, they thought I was a legitimate criminal. Every week, you know, major, considerable drug dealers were getting busted with large quantities of drugs. And that was because I was given a free rein. And so we rewrote the rule book.
One deal in particular was to change his life forever.
So this is the scene of one of Peter's biggest ever busts. Now, for legal reasons, I can't tell you where I am. Now, to stay alive in this game, Peter had to be good, very good. When he became a drug dealer, he had to become a drug dealer. He had to learn the lingo. He knew everything there was to know about drugs, but most importantly, he knew the risks. One mistake could be fatal. There were no second chances in this game.
It had taken months of careful planning, a tip-off from an informant and the combined efforts of Scotland Yard, Customs, the DEA and the Royal Ulster Constabulary.
Lovely. Same feel to it or what?
Well, the decor's changed.
It was Blex against not only the IRA, but also the Mafia. It may sound like something out of a movie, but this was the real deal, and Blex's life was on the line. This is the first time he's been back in this room since the bust.
What made this deal more scarier than any others that you'd done?
We had 2 firearms teams briefed and hidden in this hotel in case they did turn up with guns. The volume of the drugs as well, you know, made it what you'd call a big job. You know, it was 15 kilos of heroin, and this is 1992.
How much that worth on the streets?
Well, in those days, the street value was about £4 million.
How'd you go about testing it? What just weighing it? I mean, would you cook it up? What?
No, well, I weighed it on the scales, and then what I did was I made a small hole in each parcel, took a small proportion of the heroin out, and then laid that on a piece of silver foil. And then I just burnt the heroin. So, like you would if you were about to smoke it, I knew immediately what it smelt like, what it looked like, and, you know, I knew whether it was a proper bit of gear the minute I burnt it, because you just have a quick, you know.
So it could have been a test for you, as if it could have been a moody bit of gear, and if they think if you are Old Bill, you ain't going to have a clue, are you? Do you know what I mean? But obviously you knew your game. Now, obviously you got to be careful about it, you know, getting any fumes, you know, because, I mean, that's your worst nightmare, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it took me about 4 hours to test all those 30 parcels, and by the end of it, I had a rotten headache. You know, I wasn't high or anything like that, I just had a bit of a headache, which I guess was probably a combination of the, you know, the pressure I was feeling.
Stress, mate,
yeah, and perhaps, you know, the gear.
The deal was done. Blex gave the signal and his team sprang into action. He was arrested alongside the dealer so he wouldn't arouse suspicion.
That buzz you got when you're leaving the bad guys with their drugs and their guns and they're all nicked, and you know they're staring at a lot of bird, you've convinced these career criminals that you're a career criminal.
Yeah, you've pulled it off, and these ain't stupid people, are they? You know
Not at all.
When Blex performed well, he was convincing the bad guys to hand over not only their drugs, but their freedom. And the only way to do that was to deliver the performance of a lifetime.
I think I'm starting to get an idea of this business now. Peter wants to give me a unique insight into what it's like to be an undercover copper. You know, like the pressure of a real deal going down. So I'm going to be playing the role what he would usually play. So he's going to be the dealer, I'm going to be the undercover copper. I've got to get a bit of gear from him, basically. This is my game, I'm quite confident with myself. I should be able to pull this off. Let's crack on, I'm going to change my clobber, go in as a hoodie, I think. Bit of subtext. What's my subtext? What's my motivation? I've got a bit nervous energy about me. Don't know whether it's because for the first time on this fucking show I'm doing a bit of acting, which is my bread and butter. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to come unstuck. But, you know, he's been a bit quiet around me, Pete. I've spent a bit of time with him, but all of a sudden he don't want to talk to me. I think he's getting a bit method around me. But let's have a method up. We'll go method against method. I'm up for all that, mate. Let's bring it on.
It's not like Blex went to drama school or anything. Everything he knows he learned from the streets. As part of his training on Scotland Yard's elite undercover unit, Blex would often have to take part in role plays designed to push officers to their limits.
You know, it'd be interesting to see how Danny reacts to the little bits of different pressure that I put him under.
So here's the deal. I'll be playing the role of an undercover cop who wants to buy some gear. Blex will be playing a drug dealer who might be able to sort me out. We've been put in touch by a mutual acquaintance called Mick.
Pete?
Yeah.
Stuck in traffic?
Yeah, sorry I'm late. It was,
No, you're all right, it's sweet. It's sweet as.
Yeah.
No problem.
How you doing?
Yeah, good as gold, yeah.
Lovely. How long you known Mick?
Oh, fuck me. I've known Mick for fucking ages, to be honest with you. A long time.
Days, weeks, months, years?
Years. Yeah. You know, I don't know fucking bollocks, I don't know aggravation, I just want to fucking get it done. Boom, 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 everyone's happy, sweet as we go our separate ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not quite as easy as that, is it? I've got to learn to trust you. You could be anybody. You know, I knew Mick from years ago when I was at primary
fair enough, fair enough.
I didn't see him for a few years. All of a sudden he lumps up and tells me there's some geezer, cake up with money, wants to do a bit of graft with me. I don't know you from fucking Adam.
Fire away. Ask me whatever the fuck you want, mate. Whatever the fuck you want.
Take your clothes off.
Get me arsehole out, yeah?
Yeah.
Why should I fucking take my club off, mate?
You could be Old Bill and you could be wearing a wire.
Fucking hell. You want me to fucking strip off, do you? Well, I'll tell you what, bollocks, I ain't fucking stripping off for you, mate. Not in a million fucking years. You must think I'm some sort of...
Really? I think you're some sort of undercover Old Bill. That's what I think.
Yeah?
Because if you won't take your kit off when there's nobody else here, so that I at least can have the peace of mind that you're not wearing a wire and you're not dirty, filthy, stinking undercover Old Bill who have been put into me before, then I'm out the door.
Listen, this is the bollocks I don't want. I don't want all this fucking bollocks. I understand what you're saying, but for fuck's sake, you want me to stand there, start bollock fucking naked?
It's a simple thing.
Okay, right, okay.
Small thing.
Small thing to you, yeah? Fucking big thing to me, but I'll tell you fucking something now, right? I fucking will strip off, all right? I'll get me fucking bollocks out. Is that what you want to fucking see? Yeah? Is that what you fucking want? I'll fucking do it, yeah, boom. What do you want? Fuck me, yeah, look, boom. What more do you want from me, mate? For fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Fuck me. I don't need this bollocks, to be honest with you.
And your top, please.
And me top, yeah? Yeah, look.
Thank you. Turn round. Great.
Sweet now, yeah?
Yeah.
See me bollocks, everything's in order.
I have got some brown. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the capability to handle what I've got?
Of course I have, otherwise I won't be sitting here, mate.
What sort of size parcel are you looking at?
Well, I'll be looking at least a few key.
Well, how about if we start with a half?
Ideally, I want a bit more than that, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walk before we run.
I think we ought to have another meet, okay? And perhaps get off on a better footing than what we did.
Yeah. Pete?
Yeah?
Sweet as.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Look after yourself.
You mind there you go, sunshine?
Yeah.
See you later. I'll be in touch, all right?
See you later.
Ta-da.
Bye.
He's definitely gone up in my estimations about what he does, you know what I mean? I do understand that his job, man, is fucking, that's another level, mate.
Peter and I have got a lot more in common than I thought. I guess in a way, being an undercover cop is a bit like being an actor.
If I mess my line up, I'll get another crack at it. He messes his line up, he gets shot in the fucking head. And that finds a light about me, you know?
The biggest bust of Bleksley's career took place at a secret London hotel. Everything had gone to plan. The drugs were off the streets and the bad guys were behind bars where they belonged. A highly confidential report on the success of the mission was written, and soon, Bleksley's worst nightmare would become reality. His cover was blown.
This report got stolen from an unmarked police car. And in this report, it quite clearly states my full name in bold capitals. D.C. Bleksley.
Oh, yeah.
Brackets Peter.
So that's all they need, isn't it, really, your name?
Well, if that had been stolen to order, or if it had got into the hands of the people that wanted, you know, I've got a very unusual surname. You know, it wouldn't have been too difficult to find me. But you see, what really, really pissed me off was that in undercover policing, you have a number allocated to you, okay? That's your number. And in all reports, in all paperwork, you never get referred to by your real name.
Just your number.
So the author of this report decided to ignore all those instructions and put my real name in it, which is bad enough. Then he goes and has the report stolen from a car while he goes shopping one day. I mean, talk about compromise my security.
By doing his job so successfully, Blex had become a threat to a vast criminal enterprise, and a price was placed on his head. The bad guys had the power and the money to get their revenge, and they would do whatever they had to get it. He was immediately moved to a secure location for his own safety.
I remember it all coming on top very quickly. The risk assessment was, you know, he's blown, he's in danger, move him, move his family, move them quickly.
Blex took me to the safe house where he spent 2 of his darkest years. He hasn't returned to the house since he left it nearly 10 years ago.
They look like nice little gaffs, to be fair, do you know what I mean? They've got a witness protection program filled to them, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously inside it's just a, you know, it's a different story.
There was a very clear threat against me that they wanted to kill this Peter, who they'd worked out was an undercover policeman. You know, and these were very well-connected criminals. You know, they were linked to the provisional IRA. You know, they were backed by them and funded by them, and you know, they were capable of carrying out their threats.
So what sort of strain did that put on your relationship? I mean, it must have been a nightmare.
a lot of strain, you know. And I didn't handle it very well. You know, I drank too much, smoked too much. I turned into a monster, really, if the truth be known.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
The pressures of not only working, but living undercover can prove too much for even the most hardened of undercover cops.
In the end, I had a breakdown, you know, and was quite seriously ill. So I left there and, you know, went to hospital, basically.
Peter managed to hide his illness from his peers, his boss, and even his girlfriend. He was, after all, a professional liar.
The doctor who I was under said, look, if you ever want to get well again, you've got to stop being all these different people. You know, you've got to be Peter Bleksley again.
He'd paid the ultimate price for doing the job he was addicted to. After playing so many different characters for so long, he lost track of who he was.
I can totally understand, you know, the whole thing of getting into the role so much that it's quite hard to snap out of it overnight, you know, on a totally different level though, you know. It's really interesting for me personally, you know. Difference being is, it's my livelihood, not my life.
Peter Bleksley put his own life at risk every day for nearly 30 years. He managed to successfully take down an international drugs trafficking ring, but was forced into hiding after his cover was blown.
It's been a scary and fascinating journey into the mind of a man who lived a double life for so long. He started to lose his mind. The fact that he was turning into the sort of person he spent his whole life trying to put away, I think that scared him.
It all sort of culminated when I nearly killed somebody in a pub one night. A friend who'd just been gossiping and tittle-tattling about me, something that I'd have laughed off previously. It just took on a disproportionate sense of importance in my very sort of altered state of mind. And so I knocked him off a bar stool and then took the bar stool to him. And but for the intervention of a friend, you know, I would have killed him.
It appeared that Scotland Yard were unprepared for a high-profile undercover cop like Peter to suffer a breakdown. Pete thought that the Met didn't provide the support he needed. In April 2000, he sued the Met for compensation. They never accepted responsibility, but offered an out-of-court settlement of 10 grand. His belief that the police force he had dedicated his life to had neglected him in his time of need made his recovery more difficult. Peter eventually got his life back on track and now works as a private eye with Jacqueline Davis, who he knows from his early days in the police.
I had a major surveillance job come in and I thought of Pete and I really needed his skills. Peter is a good operative because he's lived the life, you know, he's walked the walk and he's talked the talk.
After everything Peter's been through and the hardship he's faced, he continues to work in such a dangerous field.
I've worked on blackmails and kidnap and all kinds of stuff. I guess there's still a part of me that working in the private sector still likes that thrill of the chase, of being unseen, of doing the job well.
When Peter isn't sticking his neck on the line for someone else, he earns a good wedge from consulting on cop dramas like Murphy's Law.
I would say the whole genesis of the new Murphy's Law and the reason why it has gone on to be very successful was down to, you know, Blex coming on board.
Elements of the character James Nesbitt plays are based on Blex's life undercover.
We were very respectful of the fact that actually Blex had lived the life. You know, we took it very seriously.
Maybe seeing his life experiences put onto our TV screens is one way for Peter to get the recognition he duly deserves. The threat on Peter's life is still very real, and as our time together draws to an end, I find out why he wanted to make this film.
You know, I was responsible for putting a lot of people away for a lot of time, but, you know, my betrayal of anybody was professional. And if anybody wanted to put themselves to the trouble of coming after me now, you know, they'd be very foolish because all they'd be doing is getting themselves another big prison sentence wrapped around them, you know. And I decided that it was more important to tell my story than to worry about fear of retribution.
It's been a long, difficult path to recovery for Peter, and now, above all else, he dedicates his time to his family.
I've searched for a long time to find out exactly who I really want to be or who I am, and now I know. I'm a husband, I'm a dad, and I'm a colleague.
The last role Peter will play is himself.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men. Welcome to the East End, London town, home to pearly kings and queens and the beautiful art of boxing. I'm here to meet one of the most brutal fighters to have been born within the sound of the Bow Bells. Oh, fuck me. He's an old school brawler who gained notoriety for nutting Aubrey Harrison, the Olympic gold medal winner.
I don't care who you are, whether I hit you going over.
And he managed to fight off 3 geezers with an axe in his head. In his spare time, he was a renowned East End enforcer, sent to persuade people to pay up.
I bought to over like 250 grand in a plastic bag once, you know, in a black bin liner.
But his criminal career ultimately ruined his chances of becoming a boxing great, and his life spiralled out of control. I'm entering a world of ultra-violence to meet the notorious Dominic Negus. Dominic Negus is a man with a colourful past. He was a champion boxer, whilst at the same time working as a gangland enforcer and debt collector. A fighter as comfortable with a baseball bat as with his fists.
Dom's got a toe in both camps. He's a face, a proper person who can fight.
On the doors, his love of violence was noticed by the criminal kingpins, and he became the most respected debt collector and ruthless enforcer in the East End.
A lot of people, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? Normally every other day someone copped a right hand or something or other.
He was a boxer, a fighter in the pocket of the criminal bosses who made the transition from the ring to become the man sent in to smash heads.
If a guy, a connected man, a proper man, let's say a gangster of any low level, mid level, high level, if he needs someone to do something for him, he will use a fighter. Boxers are used to getting here. So if someone needs something delivered, if someone needs something collected, and it might go a little bit tits up, it might go a little bit south, it might get a little bit tasty, it might get a little bit naughty, who would that guy prefer to be in charge of the handling or minding or watching the situation? It makes sense he'd like a fighter.
He was a contender who could have gone on to become a great, only for his life of crime to drag him down.
Dominic took his eye off the boxing because of some of the other activities he was getting involved with. Now, had he not done that, then he, without a doubt, would have been a proper contender.
I'm in the East End to meet the man who had the world at his feet, but lost it all, leaving his dream in tatters.
So this is Dominic's gym. Looks like something out of Snatch, I'll be straight with you. And now I've heard he's one of the top boys. He's one of the guys, the top boys would ring if they wanted a bit of muscle. He's now a boxer, got a little gym. This is his manor. It's on my manor, actually. Let's go and have a pipe. So naughty dig. Good to meet you, son. Good to meet you. How are you? All right?
Fuck time.
Fuck, mate, it's a powerful dig you got there. What you got planned for me today then, son?
Well, don't we have a little bit of a tour around. There's an old pub we used to hang about. I mean, obviously, I don't go out no more, you know what I mean? It's not so much for my health, but for other people's health, I don't. To me, I used to turn up on the old, I used to have a booze. But yeah, the sort of pub we used to hang about, we'll go down there. Perhaps a few of the boys will be down now.
Okay.
Dom seemed like a level-headed guy, but it was unnerving to know that he could turn into an extremely violent man. As I was to learn later, a deadly man existed behind the smile. He could have been a contender, but it wasn't the power of his punch that let him down. He took steroids, which led him to be banned from the professional boxing game, and he became an underworld enforcer that nearly cost him his life.
So, Dominic Negus. Knew nothing about him before, I've got to say. Bit muggy, really, on my behalf, considering he's from my manor. What a punch this man's got. I mean, powerful. I mean, it was the gym was shaking, honestly. I mean, this man's a sportsman, you know. I mean, you can tell he's a true boxer, and it comes from the heart, you know. I'm just interested to hear his story, you know, and I'm sure this guy's got a lot to say.
I'm in Bethnal Green, London, with boxer and notorious gangland enforcer Dominic Negus, the man who ruled the East End debt collection world with an iron fist. He's fought over 60 bouts as an amateur and pro, winning 45 times. Born and bred in the heart of the East End, he's a Bethnal boy who grew up in an area known for its skilled pugilists. Dominic Negus was born in Bethnal Green, the heart of the East End. The east of London has always been in a struggle to break free from the grip of poverty. For young people growing up on these rough streets, fighting is often their only chance to escape to a better life.
Poverty has been rife. And if you're poor, you want to fight. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally. You want to fight. And that's why there's never been a shortage of young boys being led by their mums, dads, parents, grandparents, big brothers, big sisters through the doors at the boxing gyms in the East End. It's a combination of hunger and it's a combination of desire. They want to fight. It's that simple.
Dom grew up on these mean streets, but for the early years, he was on the wrong end of the punches. He brought me back to his old school to tell me about how the bullied kid turned into the bully.
So what sort of character was you in school then? Was you a lump in school or what?
No, I'd take at school. I was a tubby little kid with glasses and curly hair and got the shit kicked out of me and like you're doing it to finish and become a bit of a worm at turn, don't you?
But it all changed for Dom when he entered a boxing gym. He realised he could fight back against the bullies and got his first taste for violence.
It was ironic, really, because I knew him as a little kid. He was quite a little chubby little thing with little round glasses, and all of a sudden he used to put himself on offer. He used to go down all the gyms and spar with anybody, and that's what's made him the fighter he is. He's got a big heart.
Dom had realised that he didn't just have to take the punches, he could dish them out, and he was starting to enjoy it.
So, at what point in your life do you realise you could throw a punch?
11 years old, got a right good hiding once, and I was 19 when I got my own back over on that estate, you know what I mean? And I remember getting in the lift with a fella, and he didn't recognise me because you know I did. I had a boot print on my head for about a week, Reebok boot print, but.
Oh, what sort of geese? So what? So these kids, he's bashed you up, right?
Yeah, no,
he's forgot all about it.
Yeah, but I did, and so I just knocked him straight out. And he's going, you know, but
knowing that he could handle himself, he got a job where he could satisfy his newfound taste for violence.
I started doing a bit of door work when I was 19, and when I got bullied, I definitely become a bully in the end. I was knocking out people every other day. I'd have a stand up with anybody, you know. I wouldn't give a fuck if you're Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, mate. If I punch you in the chin, you're going for a kip. Yeah. So, you know, you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
After years of being bullied, he was finally getting the respect he craved.
It
with him. I loved the reputation. He was like the fact you go to nightclubs, never had to pay for nothing, all of a sudden everyone knew you, especially like you go Marbella, all the boys would be out there, come on, go, they really like you. They just think, well, keep him out, because if he gets on the booze, he'll turn and end up throwing us over the balcony. You know, but to be honest with you, Dan, I just so wanted, well, I suffer from being a kid, like the fat kid that got bullied. I so wanted the reputation, if you know what I mean. I was so striving to be a part of something that I did the most stupidest things just to get a rep. And to be honest, it took me, you know, I'm 38 now, it took me 30 odd years to get a reputation. It's going to take me another 40 years to lose it.
I was starting to learn more about Dom and his addiction to violence. On the surface, he seemed like a nice guy, but he had a violent side. I didn't fancy seeing it. He began to make a name for himself as a young boxer with a hot head. His quick temper became a feature of his doorman career. When the red mist came down, anything could happen.
Sometimes I wanted to come to work because you'd have the ump and you wanted to take it out on people. Dusters, hammers, your bats, get that across your head.
Dom enjoyed the boxing, but at heart, he was a street fighter, and on the doors he could vent his rage. One night when two people took advantage, he dealt with them in his own special way.
We've had a bit of a scrap, not a scrap, but a bit of a bundle. And as we've gone over on the floor, because I've got the geezer like that and I wouldn't let him go, and of course the other geezer started kicking at me, so all I did was bit the geezer's cheek. You know what I mean? I just, you know, and of course he got up, he's run off screaming, and I had this bit of thing in my mouth, you know what I mean? It wasn't very nice.
While he was wreaking havoc on the doors, his boxing career was taking off. He got offered a professional contract and a chance to fight at the spiritual home of British boxing, the legendary York Hall.
The beautiful York Hall, look at this. What a gaff this is, mate.
York Hall, in my opinion, is the most famous boxing venue in Great Britain. So that makes it the most famous boxing venue in Europe. And I think the only place that can compete with it for name is Madison Square Garden in New York.
York Hall in Bethnal Green has always been the iconic location for British boxing. Fighters including Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn, Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno all boxed here. This is where Dom had his first pro fight, going on to box here 6 times, winning 4 by way of knockout. It was here he made his name as an East End boxing great, eventually becoming a title contender.
What would you say York Hall means to boxing?
Well, it's like it seemed like the mecca of boxing, wasn't it? I mean, all the top boys have boxed here. When you come out and walk through, and of course your music goes off, and the place goes absolutely potty. I normally get there, I've got a big smile on my face, because once that bell rings, and it's just down to business. I mean, I just love fighting, you know. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, I'm good at it.
Dominic dazzled the East End boxing fans with his brutal displays of the art. He won his first 7 professional fights, but soon caught the eye of shadier fight fans for whom violence was more than a sport.
Boxing has always attracted underworld figures to the ring. The notorious Craze were big fans of the game after being dragged to the gym by their mum when they were unruly teenagers. It was logical that when they needed a bit of help running their criminal empire, they called on fighters to do their dirty work.
An awful lot of fighters end up working on doors. And from working on doors, you end up running errands, you end up doing all sorts of stuff.
With boxing, you're always going to have the skullduggery around it. It's always like there's the shady characters in dark glasses, and it's like the gangster world, ain't it? People that come to you, oh, do you know so-and-so, so-and-so, and then introduce it, and you have all these different connections. You know what I mean? But as you said, it always seemed to stem around the East End.
Crime bosses began to take an interest in Dom. It wasn't long before he took up his 3rd career, only this time it was on the wrong side of the law. His other jobs as a boxer and doorman weren't paying enough, and the law of easy money tempted him to become a gangland enforcer.
And it was such an easy transition. As soon as I got into the boxing and doing the door work, then everything else started coming. It was just, you know, just all spiraled into it.
In between working on the doors and training for his pro fights, he began to collect debts owed to crime bosses. For Dominic, it was an opportunity to make a pound note and to indulge his vicious side.
You know, I was willing to do anything. You know, I'll take on the crappiest jobs you can imagine, going to, you know, get money off of scumbags, because I was so eager to prove myself. And you were willing to go into battle and put yourself on the line because you wanted this reputation.
This was clearly a major step for Dom to take, from a legit boxer on the verge of greatness to becoming an underworld figure. I wanted to find out what it took to become a gangland enforcer, so I agreed to meet some of his old crew down at his local.
So, coming to meet Dom, his local boozer, come to meet a few of his pals from the old school. Pals he used to run about, do a bit of debt collecting with. I've got no idea about them, but I know they're obviously going to be big lumps, you know what I mean? Now, you know, I've got a bit of dough around me, I'm going to get around in. I don't want them to think I'm a lunch. But the pub had to be called the Gunmakers, didn't it? Hello, sweetheart, how are you, mate?
Fine, thank you.
Can I get a nice little, I might have a little pint of Stella, as it happens. You know Dominic Negus?
Yeah.
And, yeah. So this is his local boozer, is it?
Yeah, drinks in here frequently.
Yeah? He don't start no trouble in here, does he?
Never starts any trouble in here, but obviously I know him from old.
Yeah.
So,
oh, OK, I've known him for years.
About. Been there, seen it,
Yeah.
seen him in action.
What do I owe you for that, sweetheart? This way you will. Can I get you a drink?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Because if it does go off, I was wondering maybe you could back me up.
£3.
If you know, maybe you back me up and stick the boot in if it kicks off. I still have a mouthful of my Uri Geller. Sit and wait. Thought I was going to down that then, didn't you? You think I'm a pisshead? Oh, here we go.
Hey,
get on this mob here, how are you?
This is Jim.
Good to meet you.
This is John. Danny.
Good to meet you, John. Oh, okay.
Good to see you.
That's a proper little mob, that one. Let's get it along. Boss, I think we'll have a little game of pole or something. Yeah, I'll ask you a few questions. Yeah, we'll keep it nice and sweet. Oh, what's it, a nick? Oh, I'll whack the nick in. I've
got the keys to that. All expenses paid.
All right, boys, so one was Dom. Was he an important part of the team then, or what?
Yeah, he was the main player, really. He's like, you know, we were like his soldiers, you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the main man. But only, you know, people just had to pay whatever they owed, do you know what I mean? They got rough, we got rough with it.
How much was, you know, violence, you know, part of the job?
Mainly we go around and just like be civil with you and say like, you know, you owe this debt, you got to pay it, and that was it. If you didn't pay it and you got salsa, you got a right hander. End of the matter, isn't it?
It's funny, Jim, your right hand is bloody hell. Must let my mum whack you.
I find that hard to believe, to be fair. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the first debt you collected.
I do remember one of the jobs, well, one of the first ones, it got a bit messy, because I didn't really know how to play the part, if you know what I mean. It was, as far as I'm concerned, we knocked on the door, and all I did, as soon as you knocked on the door, I whacked the geezer. And then my mate straight away goes, but give me his due, he paid the money straight away. And my mate was giving his nut, he was going, fucking hell, Dom's a bit strong.
So as soon as that door was open?
I just cracked him, boom, right hander, and that was it. And to be honest, hopefully you see earlier, I ain't got a bad right hand on me, you know what I mean? So.
No, I was going to say. What would you say was the biggest amount of dough you collected?
Well, I mean, I walked away with people like 250 grand in a plastic bag once. You know, in a black bin liner. I mean, you know, I don't know how much you get with your film rolls, mate. I mean, but I'm telling you something.
But I'm sure you know, 250 fucking grand.
Not yet, anyway.
No, you're fucking living out,
Get this cunt. Bit of top on it.
But the crew's debt collecting soon caught the attention of the old Bill, and Dom's Lieutenant Jimmy got busted.
Got to go. Tell me a little bit about, you know, you got nicked, done a bit of bird over it. I mean, what happened there?
Well, I went round someone's house, a couple of brothers' houses in there, and they owed my pal a bit of money. Yeah. So he said to me, you go and collect the debt. He said, and you get half of the money. So I went round there with one of my pals, And
What a bit of dough was it? Or?
30 grand it was. Started walking up the road all of a sudden. Police cars everywhere. Machine guns and everything, the old bill. Anyway, nicked me, handcuffed me, and nicked me for demanding money with menaces. And they give me 14 years. If I was a nonce, I'll fucking get 2 months.
That's what I'm saying,
You know what I mean? There's no justice. There's no justice.
Squawk up here a little bit. So, I mean, what, you know, listen, I've got to say, lovely fellas, first off, lovely fellas, but I'll tell you something now. If I owed someone money and them 3 come knocking on my door, I mean, I'd pay up, I'd do whatever they wanted, mate. Powerful little mob, that, very powerful mob.
I'm in London with East End enforcer Dominic Negus. He told me how he went from being a bullied kid to a pro fighter.
I'd ever stand up with anybody, you know, I wouldn't give a fuck if you're Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, mate. If I punch you in the chin, you're going for a kip.
And he'd introduced me to his debt collecting mob.
If I owed someone money and them 3 come knocking on my door, I mean, I'd pay up, I'd do whatever they wanted.
Dom and the crew kindly offered to show me what it was like to be on the wrong end of a debt collection. Being game, I offered myself up to play the role of the man who owed the cash. I was just hoping they wouldn't get carried away.
So, Dom and the boys, they're going to show me a bit how this debt collecting thing works. A bit of role play for a start, you know, so it's just a bit of role play. Don't take it too seriously at home, all right? Now, I owe them 20 grand, we're saying. They're going to knock on my door, they're going to go through the motions.
We used to be so blinkered about things because that's what we did, you know what I mean? We were debt collectors, but also, we would say debt collectors, you know what we were? We were more negotiators, you know, hard, iron fist negotiators.
I'm not sure this is how the Halifax would have dealt with it, all right? Sort his mugs out.
You Danny?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, mate, you all right? Mind if we come in?
Yeah, all right, no, come in, yeah, no problem, yeah.
Seen some horrible things I wouldn't even want to, I'm not going to talk about. And I used to get a kick out of it because I was bloody good at it, because I was so blinkered about things, I wouldn't give a toss, you know what I mean? People getting cut and things like that, and I wouldn't give a monkeys, you know what I mean? Because that's how it was, you know, people getting their heads kicked in and, you know, people getting knocked out, and it was just every day. It become every day, it's such an everyday occurrence, it was just the norm.
What's that? Hold up a minute, mate, hold up a minute. Hold up.
Joe sent us round.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm
20 grand for the murk.
The crew used to collect money on behalf of the crime bosses from people who couldn't go to the banks or the police.
All right, well,
Get ready and we're going.
Yeah, we come with you.
Whether it was for a car or a drug deal, as soon as the debt needed repaying, they were sent in.
Either give us the fucking money, or we can go the other route, you know what I mean?
Well, I've got it, but I've got to do a bit of running about to sort it out.
I was experiencing what it was like to feel the threat. And what I was hearing weren't pretty. I just wanted it to be over before I knocked them all spark out.
Sometimes how you do it, the thought of the violence is much more intimidating than the actual violence. If I went bang and whacked you on the chin, it don't really hurt that much until you wake up, then actually the thought of it, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's a mind game.
That's what I'm saying, that what you're
Of course I wasn't in any danger. But in the role play, they revealed a little of their techniques.
If you knock on the door, you know what motor they've got, because you've got a bit of info. So, sorry, mate, I'll just hit your motor outside. First thing he wants to do, get outside, see what you've done to his motor. As soon as he's outside.
For Dom and the crew, working as debt collectors meant that they were operating outside the law.
Who's allowed to hit anybody? Nobody.
No.
But it depends. But then listen, if you owe money for something dodgy, then how can you go to the old bill? No, you can't play both sides, can you? If it's, again, drugs were never my game, but I can't say I never collected money for. I've, done the odd thing, but at the end of the day, you just got to go and pick it up, and that's what it is. It's no man's land, ain't it?
The men they collected debts from couldn't call the police. They had to suffer the consequences like beatings and stabbings. Dom knew that he was creating a lot of enemies, who one day might come back to haunt him. This was no man's land. Dom was also keen for me to see him in action in the ring. This time, I figured if it was one-on-one, I might have a chance.
So Dom's invited me back to the gym. He fancies his chances in the ring with me. I don't want to mug him off. What he don't know is that I'm Danny the Dark Destroyer Dyer. Right? And I think he's in for a bit of a surprise.
Hey up there.
Dominic Niggers, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, son?
Good, mate. Okay, mate.
Sweet as, son. Sweet as. So I've got quite a few digs at you, I think.
You've got to take it easy.
Yeah, you've been getting a bit leery lately, so...
I've got some nice gloves for you, mate. You know, mate.
No, I thought they'd go with a smother.
No, it's all right.
Dom didn't fancy a proper sparring session with me, but he agreed to let me throw a few punches at him.
Feel what you've got, Dan. See what you do.
See what he's about this week.
Bum. Ain't too bad, Dan.
Cheers, good man. Lovely.
Clearly, I was a different class. Me movement, me air, me smell, but me fitness needed a bit of work.
You're getting a sweat up, mate. Is that in the contract?
No, is it fuck? I'm earning me dough on this one. I'm fucking earning me dough.
Yeah, oh, that was going.
I felt it was only proper to repay the favour.
Right, let's have a swap over there.
Go on,
right?
yeah,
You're
go on.
fucking beat the out of me now over the fucking ring.
And I also wanted to feel the power of these infamous niggers right-handers.
Let's just feel the false. I've got to feel the false, you know, really. Let me feel a quart with the false. That's it. Oh, fuck me. That's it. Well, I felt that wind then going right across my boat.
Even at a quarter power, Dom was hitting me like a train, so I was pleased to hear the bell and get out there with my arms still attached to my body.
Fucking hell. That's nothing, that. Well in for that, son. I felt a bit of the power there. Right, I'm ready now to go and have it up with people. Joking.
He was obviously still a very powerful machine, but back in August 2002, he was at his peak and he'd hit the big time. Having won 4 consecutive fights at cruiserweight, he stepped up to heavyweight for the biggest fight of his life against Audley Harrison, the great British hope of boxing and Olympic gold medal winner. Behind the scenes, Dom was still heavily involved working as an enforcer, but this was the biggest fight of his career, live on the BBC.
This fight on paper was supposed to be the biggest fight of my life. It's supposed to be the stepping stone onto better things, because I was certain I was going to win. I'm not coming to this fight thinking it's going to be easy, you know what I mean? But it's going to be an hard fight, it's going to be a hard fight for both of us. And as Audley was saying, I'm expecting to come out victorious.
But Audley wasn't impressed with Dom.
Got a title, he's WBU, one of them titles, Super Cruiserweight Champion. He's been around.
He was the underdog, expected to take a fall, but that was far from his mind.
What did you say to Uncle you a fall guy?
I'm sorry, you have somebody see, mate. Bang, yeah, I'll see you later.
On the night at Wembley Arena, Dom entered the ring full of confidence. But as the fight entered the 4th round, he slipped and he went down on one knee.
I'm half down, and if you see next minute, he just walks off like this and walks straight back and...
Audley had won the first 3 rounds, but then he hit Dom when he was down.
Audley did something stupid. He tried to mock him in front of millions watching on BBC and a couple of thousand in the arena. Instead of Audley just sticking to the boxing, outboxing Dom, smothering Dom and winning on points, he tried to laugh and be cocky.
At the peak of his career, in front of the watching millions, Dom snapped and the rage took over.
He's, you know, so smarmy. Like, he would say, well, come on then. I said, well, come on then. So I spat my gum shield out and nutted him. And that was, to be honest, the only bruise I had was nutting him, you know.
Dom steams in, tries to bite him, tries to butt him, pushes him over. All he didn't do was kick him.
Dom narrowly avoided disqualification, and Audley went on to win the fight on points. But after the fight, the talk wasn't only about the headbutt. In an after-fight drugs test, Dom had tested positive for a banned steroid.
I cheated, to be honest. They expected me coming at 14, 15 stone. I had a little bit of help and walked in at 17 stone and looked like bleeding Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Dom was subsequently banned from the pro fight game, dashing his hopes of becoming a champion. But it wasn't only the steroids that led to his downfall. It was also his parallel career as a gangland enforcer.
And was you involved with a bit of crime with the other thing at the time? So
if I'm being honest with you, if I was as focused as I am now on the sport, you know, things would have been different. You know, what I mean? But I was so busy wrapped up with other things that, you know.
His training had suffered because of his criminal career, and he felt he needed to cheat to catch up.
Had he not got involved with all sorts of stuff away from the ring, then he, without a doubt, would have been a proper contender.
Having ruined his chances in the pro game, Dom threw himself into his career as a gangland enforcer. The training sessions became less frequent, and the iron fist enforcing became his #1 priority. But Dom's violent attitude started to piss a lot of people off, and they decided that he needed to be taken out. In April 2004, an incident in a cramped changing room in a 5-star gym in Harold Hill went on to change his life forever. Dom's returning for the first time since he was nearly killed to talk me through exactly what happened.
Oh, small in here, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it was a bit cramped that night, I've got to be honest with you.
After a heavy session on the pads, Dom returned to the changing room. What he didn't know was that 3 men armed with a baseball bat, a gun and an axe had entered the gym looking for him.
Door kicked open, shouting, screaming, Dominic, ah! I fucking turned around like that, and I'm just basically standing where you are. There's a big lump there, and the geezer about my stamp, and a little fella. And the little fella's also pulled out his, pulled a gun out, it's gone like that, and the first thing I went like that, I thought, what are you going to do with that?
But with his back turned, the geezer with the axe planted it in the middle of his head.
But next to me, I'm on the floor, and I thought, fuck me, he's like the old slipped on the soap trick, you know, and on my arse, I thought, fuck. And I didn't realise what had gone on, I thought it was fucking raining, but it weren't raining, it was blood pissing out my head. And as I looked up, the geezer's got like an axe thing. So he's obviously done me in the canister with the axe.
Dom was down with blood pouring out of his head and an axe man hovering over him. But all he could think about was his reputation.
I think, fucking hell, he's supposed to be naughty on your arse. As I went to get up, as I gone like, he's trying to do me again, and so it got stuck in my hand. I thought, shit, I'm in trouble here.
With the axe raining down on him, Dom began to fight back.
As he tried to do me again, I got hold of the axe, and the blade's there like that. I got hold of the big lump, and I'm like basically wrestling him against the wall, and like smashing his head against the wall. And the geezer started whacking me with a bat. I've taken the bat off of him. The funny thing was I couldn't hold the bat at first, and I didn't realise till afterwards all my hands were all fucked up.
Having taken care of the axe man and wrestled the bat away from the other attacker, Dom had turned the tide.
And then next minute they've all looked at me and we were fucking state. Next minute they've all basically bolted.
Having fought off 3 armed attackers, Dom was left with a fractured skull and over 60 stitches in his head, arm and hand. Dom wouldn't tell me who he thought the attackers were for fear of reprisals.
So, Dom, I mean, you think, right, you've been naughty in the past, you've upset a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But you can't obviously pinpoint it to a certain thing, but...
Well, listen, Dan, if I'm being honest with you, mate, I mean, you led that life, and if I'm being deadly honest, I deserved it, mate. I mean, the 3 fellas, I know you keep going, them 3 fellas I am such a big debt to, because they just made me realise, A, what a fucking arsehole I've become, but B, that weren't a life for me.
So this was basically, it was this attack that made you start thinking about things and why you changed your life?
Near that day, I thought, nah, time to get out now. You know, I mean, I've just been very lucky. You know, it could have been a lot worse for me.
After the attack, he saw how his horrific injuries affected his wife, Nick.
The biggest life-changing thing for me, right, you know, that was a massive part, but seeing how scared Nick was. And do you know what? I take me off to the eye and that girl so much more than she'll ever realise, and it does makes me want to cry now, because she never fucking moved, Dan, I promise you, mate. But to see how fine she was, and then so I thought, this has got to stop. Yes. And then from that day, I thought, bang, that was it.
Well, I've got to say, fascinating story. You know, when you're standing there with 3 geezers, one with a gun, a baseball bat, an axe, and they're coming towards you, I think 99% of men would melt, you know what I mean? It's like this very small percentage of men that are going to stand up and they're going to deal with it, and they're going to deal with that situation after having an axe put in your nut. Big moment in his life, turning point for him. It's nice to see that side to him where, you know, he was getting a bit choked up, and I know he's quite an emotional person, you know. And it's good to see that side to him, you know.
While his family gathered round him in hospital, he realised just how important they were. He had narrowly escaped being killed. It had taken an axe to his head to make him realise he'd hit rock bottom and that he needed to change. He immediately brought an end to his life of crime, something that had cost him his pro boxing career and a shot at the big time, and nearly his life. For Dom, renouncing his role as a gangland enforcer, the reputation and the violence was an easy decision to make. But being a fighter was in his heart, so it didn't surprise me he'd found something else to channel the rage inside. Banned from the professional fight game, he's turned to the world of unlicensed boxing to ply his trade. Unlicensed boxing is a mishmash of styles and levels.
The unlicensed game falls into several categories. You've got the unlicensed straighteners that take place in fields or in the backs of pubs, and they're fairly brutal, they're fairly nasty. Then you've got the very organised unlicensed business. And what you have in the ring then is you have fighters that have been banned from boxing under British Boxing Board of Control licence, thus the expression unlicensed.
At the more brutal end is a no-holds-barred battle where knees, elbows and headbutts aren't uncommon. It's not unknown for the boxers to take on the challenge of someone ringside if their opponent don't show up.
I love going to unlicensed fights. It's fantastic. It's like stepping onto the set of a really bad British gangster movie, and then a bit of action takes place in the ring. What more do you want from a night?
I know I'd rather see this on my box than another boring 12-rounder down the points. I was interested to find out the standard Dom still boxes at and how different it is to the pro game. So I agreed to meet him and go to an unlicensed boxing night. Dominic Negus was a notorious gangland enforcer and boxer who had the world at his feet. He indulged in a life of crime alongside a successful boxing career that saw him come up against Audley Harrison at Wembley Arena. But ultimately, this dual life led to his downfall. He was banned from the pro game and nearly killed in a vicious axe attack. Now, he plies his trade with the IBA, who are the best of the country's many unlicensed boxing associations. They draw true boxers to their events, rather than the brawlers seen elsewhere. Dom wasn't fighting tonight. He was on a scouting mission, as his next opponent was on the bill.
Right, so I'm at the Circus Tavern, coming to watch a bit of unlicensed boxing. Coming to meet Dominic. We're going to watch a bit of Dan Dyer, which is his next opponent. I've been to a few of these dudes before. It's a mad gaff, this Circus Tavern. I'll tell you, it's a mad clientele, you know, full of canning towners, all jumping about like lunatics. Should be a good night, though. Dominic Negus. Come here, come here.
Hello, mate.
Yeah, got his son. Let's get in here lively. Come.
It was good to see the big man again. I could hear the crowd from outside, so I was keen to get in and taste the action.
Lead the way then, Dom. I got a clue where I'm going.
Every Friday night, 3,000 rowdy fight fans gather to cheer on the fighters turning the Circus Tavern into a gladiatorial arena. Dom's their prize fighter and former world champion, so he had a bit of clout. I could smell a heady mixture of Old Spice and sweat as we walked through into the VIP stage and took our places amongst some top boys, including former bare-knuckle boxing champion Roy Pretty Boy Shaw.
Fucking hell, boy.
It was an impressive night. The ring's smaller than the program, which means it's harder for the fighters to hide, and you see a lot more action.
What's it, girl? He fucking knocked him out in a minute. Oh, look, he's fucking... Oh!
This was show business with blood. The atmosphere was electric, and even the kids were enjoying it. Dom's next fight was for the IBA World Championship against Danny Dyer, who was on the bill tonight. He led me backstage for a quick chat with a man who was prepared to face the infamous Dominic Negus.
Good to meet you, mate. Pleasure. Now, I didn't realise how pally you was.
No,
it's nice, isn't it? Nice.
We're actually really good mates.
It's nice.
He's a class fighter.
All right, okay.
It's a fight born out of respect, you know.
Right.
I've always had a lot of respect for Dom, and he's been there and he's done it.
Yeah.
And to fight him, I would consider to be a true test of my ability.
Okay, so is this the toughest part of standing in here, or I mean, you just can't wait to get in the ring now? Is that that feeling?
Yeah, we're ready to go now.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
No, bang on it, Grover.
Yeah, he's the man, if you like.
Dan was a nice bloke, and it was good to see him getting on. But I couldn't help but think this was a long way away from Audley Harrison at Wembley Arena.
Please welcome from Barrington, Dan Dyer.
As Dan was announced and walked to the ring, Dom's attention was distracted.
Things like that, you know what I mean? So I'm just earning, straight money.
Yeah,
fucking that's all I do. Tell me about it. Oh, I can't afford to get banged up now.
For a man who was once so embedded in the criminal underworld, escaping that life was always going to be difficult. And I just hoped that the law of the easy money wouldn't lead him down that path again.
Basically, you know what I mean? So, fucking easy earning a dodgy pan note, ain't it? You know what I mean? So,
your winner, Dan Dyer.
It was time to go. Dan Dyer had won, and for Dom, there were too many reminders of the life he'd left behind. Having led the life Dom had lived, it wasn't surprising that he would be constantly reminded of his vicious past. I wanted to meet up with him for the last time, to find out whether he could really turn his back on his old life and the law of easy money, and what the future held for this former gangland enforcer.
What, so Dom? I mean, how hard is it not to slip back into your old ways? I mean, did you struggle with that a lot, or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, it's like money-wise, it's very hard. I mean, because obviously people are so quick to dangle carrots in front of you. There's always a few quid to be earned, you know, getting money back off of people. I mean, but the way my life is at the moment, I wouldn't want to change it for anything. You know what I mean? I've got my family now, and where before you just go and whack someone, I think, oh, if that happens, I'm gonna get in trouble. You know, I won't be able to see my little girl, and that's my biggest drive for me at the moment.
Dom had got out of the crime business for the right reasons. But I wondered, if he hadn't been a gangland enforcer, whether his life would have turned out differently.
So, I mean, how far do you think you could have gone in boxing if you'd have stayed away from the other bit of work and you'd have just, lived and breathed it every single day, as you know what the discipline is? I mean, how far do you feel you could have gone?
And I mean it. I mean, I really think I could have gone all the way in the pro ranks. I mean, I've only got myself to blame for that, but it's no good me looking back, because I've got a future to think of now.
So what does the future hold for you then, Dom?
You know, it's day at a time, really. You know, all I want to be able to do is like be able to earn a straight bit of money, like I'm doing, have a mortgage and have an house, and let the kids be proud of me.
I believe that he could have got on to become a great in the boxing world if he hadn't have got involved so heavily as a gangland enforcer. I was pleased he'd seen the light and was now living straight for his family. Hopefully, in the future, he won't slip back into a criminal career that very nearly cost him his life.
I'm Danny Dyer. Playing hard men and acting tough has been my bread and butter. But now I've got a new role. I'm going to be tracking down some of the most feared men in the country on both sides of the law. I'm going to find out what makes them tick, how they got their fearsome reputations, and why they're considered some of Britain's deadliest men. He's been a football hooligan, a boxer with over 100 knockouts to his name. and had his own security company which ran the door of over 200 clubs in Edinburgh.
At just 17, he was Britain's youngest criminal mastermind, a teenage godfather who ran the streets of the Scottish capital, the original baby-faced assassin.
I was always a frontliner. I'm a born leader.
I'm meeting Bradley Welsh, a man who before he was barely out of his teens was feared in the ring, on the terraces, and on the streets. And whose young life of crime and violence ultimately led him to jail.
Now, I've met him before when we made a film about football hooligans a couple of years ago, so I know all about his fearsome reputation.
Last time it was all about being a hooligan.
Fucking get up there. I was 14 and I'd been arrested up in Dundee, arrested at Ibrox. I'd been like 7 arrests. I was only 14 for violence at football.
But that was just a small part of his complex character. Of all the blokes I met doing the football factories, he was the one that stuck in my mind. He's 38 years old and runs a gym in a tough part of the city.
Jab.
He's one of Edinburgh's faces, thanks to his notorious past.
Brad's a force of nature. I mean, he's one of these guys that you'll maybe meet 2 or 3 of them in a lifetime.
Scary, man. Just scary.
Good to see you, Brad. It's been a while, mate. Oh, cheers.
It must take something special to be a big player in the criminal underworld before you're old enough to buy a drink. So I've come back to get the rest of his story.
So obviously, look, it's going to be nice to spend a bit of time with you properly, you know.
Come up here and we'll show a bit of Edinburgh. It's a beautiful city, as you can see.
Yeah.
We'll maybe take you a wee bit of the sort of part of the cities that people don't see, yeah?
Yeah.
And the underbelly a wee bit,
Yeah.
Have a look at this.
Already I'm remembering that Bradley's brain works at 100 miles an hour and he wants to cram in as much as possible. He's eager to tell me everything about the city, but will he be as keen to talk about himself?
He's going to give me a tour of Edinburgh, but what I really want is a tour of inside Bradley's head. Now, I just don't know how far he's going to let go. I just get a sense that he's holding back a little bit, you know, which doesn't surprise me, really.
I get the feeling that Bradley isn't proud of his criminal past, and now that he's a reformed character, he doesn't want to be seen bragging about his exploits. So what, if anything, am I going to find out? In 1970, Bradley Welsh was born to working-class parents in a deprived area to the southwest of Edinburgh. He's taken me back there to see the place where he grew up.
So this is Morden, yeah? This is where I was I was born, yeah? This is still, you know, quite a bad area for drugs and stuff like that. They're very cheap accommodation. And I was born on the 8th floor there, yeah?
Oh, so that was your building, was it?
Yeah.
After Bradley's father was thrown out by his mum, she brought up Bradley and his elder brother. It was her fighting spirit that would inspire him all his life.
My family were everything to me. And again,
you're close to your family, aren't you?
I'm really close to my mum and my brother and stuff, yeah. My nephews. We're really close to that family. That's what's got me through all the adverse points in my life, yeah. It's having that closeness of family.
She took him to boxing when he was 7. Boxing ran in her blood. Her grandfather was a prize fighter.
At the age of 11, 12 years old, I had maybe 250 fights. So I was boxing from the age of 7 years old, which I started to do as somebody to channel my sort of energies into. It was my mother and my brother that got me to do that, because I was a bit of a wayward child, shall we say, yeah?
It was his first boxing match, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was only 2 rounds, we were only 8.5 or 9 years old, and the referee stopped Bradley. He was like slowing him down. He was going so fast that he was turning around full circle and he was going so fast. And that sums Bradley up.
He excelled in the ring, small, wiry, and with explosive power. He had a never-say-die attitude. He won bout after bout, and established himself as a genuine contender. But it was his passion for violence outside the ring that would define Bradley Welsh.
I was winning Scottish titles and stuff, but the same day I was winning Scottish titles, I was running away from the competition, jumping on buses from Meadowbank up to the football and then fighting on the streets.
I'm up in Edinburgh with Bradley Welsh, a football hooligan leader at 12, a champion boxer by 15, and a gangster before he could vote. Back in the day, the very mention of his name struck fear into people. From what he told me so far, I realised that first and foremost, he's a product of his hometown.
All the hard men come for you. All the hard kids come for you. All the ladies that are good workers, good grafters, good earners, and they can all fight. They can all fight with their hands, yeah? There's something in the genetics up here, yeah? Because if you can't fight, you didn't survive up here. Simple as that.
Just like Bradley, there's a violent side to Edinburgh that the guidebooks definitely don't tell you about.
The underbelly's always been with Edinburgh, this Jekyll and Hyde side to the city. And you know, you see it's very evident, like the old town and the new town, and even within these areas, you know, rich and poor live together.
What that means is that the other parts of the city where people actually live are almost kind of deemed not to exist.
But whether rich or poor, one thing in Edinburgh did bring everyone together. Well, half of Edinburgh anyway. Easter Road is home to one of the city's two football clubs, Hibernian FC. Bradley wasn't a football fan, boxing was his passion, but when he was taken to see Hibs play, he was shocked by what he saw happening to his city.
Now, every time that you came Easter Road, yeah, Rangers and Celtic predominantly, because they were the big force in Scotland, would go to every city in Scotland and they would piss all over the streets. And they would take over me. As a young boy coming down here at 12 years old, I was fearless. I was a boxer, I'd had about 200 fights, mate. And then coming here, I used to see Hibs supporters hide their scarves. And I can remember going on the train or somewhere and saying, well, you better hide your scarf. And to me, that was like, what? You know, because this is my city, this is the castle that I live with. This is, you know, this is where we're from. I was never brought up to hide anything.
It was 1982, and football hooliganism in Scotland was rife. Bradley's elder brother was part of Hibernian's main hooligan firm, the Capital City Service.
What the Hibs casuals became notorious for was how tightly knit they were and how closely bonded. And I suppose for any criminal organisation, because that's what they basically were. I mean, they were breaking the law all the time, like the Mafia, you know, how tightly bonded they are. And that was what's quite unique about Hibs.
Determined to play his part in defending his city from the invaded Brawls, Bradley and his friends formed their own infamous group, the Bleksley's Baby Crew.
I'm a born leader. That's what I've always done. I've never listened to other people. I've always took things, maybe partly because of my confidence. So I started to form my own wee mob, and how I done that was I collated them together, got membership cards, and started to organise them along a battalion line, yeah? And there was literally a couple hundred boys at that time. But by no means was I like just the main guy. That was the beauty about this Hibs thing. There was 50, 60 main guys. That's what our strength was. We made Easter Road a fortress.
Now, away firms coming to Hibs would have to run the gauntlet of one of Scotland's best young boxers with his hooligan crew.
This would be our main focal point, you know, for people to congregate. This is the entrance coming into the Hibs away end, yeah? And in the 80s, back when the old Bill police didn't have a clue, yeah? We'd get away with murder here, as you can imagine. Many, many incidents here, hundreds, too many to remember. When I woke up somewhere like this, it's like a nostalgic trip, yeah? Yeah, even though it has been 15 to 20 years, yeah? Yeah. Hello. I'm standing on the Bridge of Doom. What Bridge of Doom? Just because nobody ever made it over here, eh? Nobody. And all the years we went to football, nobody ever made it over here. Everybody tried, nobody ever made it over here. People made it over that way.
Despite saying he's not proud of his hooligan past, I get the feeling that Bradley feels a certain nostalgia for his days running the firm and defending his manor and the Hibs fans. But when it was all kicking off back in the 80s, one person he most certainly didn't want to know about what was going on was his mum. Incredibly, he managed to keep his hooligan life a secret from her and his stepdad. Like any teenager, he got into trouble with them, but they had no idea what he was really up to.
Any, hint of trouble or even, school reports, whatever, or just acting up, he was kept in. He was stopped for going to his training, and the usual things that parents would.
Kept him in the pub till 5 o'clock on a
Saturday. Kept him when we were both working.
So he couldn't go to the football.
But when England came to Scotland for an international match, Bradley snuck out and went to the game without his mum knowing. And what happened made him front page news.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
There's a picture, and it's got England at the bottom, Scotland at the top, and it's got a no man's land, and I'm standing in no man's land with a big stick, and there's a policeman grabbing me like this.
Scotland v England was a major battle, and he was a boy in a man's world who could more than hold his own.
At the age of 45, I wasn't a great fighter. I was 8.5 stone. 15 stone man's going to beat me. You know what I mean? But I could punch and I could knock people out. So I was always going to football and chinning people.
There's a few times I've seen big guys be like, who are you? And before you'd even got their hands out of the pocket, they were on the deck. And he was a young boy at the time,
He may have been at the centre of an international hooligan incident, but he still had to be home for his team.
I got on the train at half-time, got back to Edinburgh, clearly the game's just finishing, and I've walked into my mum and stepdad's pub as if I've just been up to them, thinking I beat them. That morning, Sunday, they worked in they owned a pub, so I'd be in the pub till late at night, 12 o'clock. The Sunday Mail papers came round. And on the papers, what's on the front page? Me standing on the front page, like that, hooligans and stuff like that. I had to cut the paper, take the photos of it, and leave the papers in the pub. So my mum wouldn't know.
But as Bradley explained to me, being a hooligan was not just about fighting. You had to look the part too. The Bother Boy skinhead image of the 60s and 70s was old hat. Bradley and his pals needed to get hold of designer clothing, which was the new uniform of the hooligan. But the kind of labels you had to be seen in didn't come cheap.
And obviously fashion was a huge thing for a lot of the protagonists that were involved at the time. And being a young kid, you couldn't often afford these things, especially coming from the kind of broken home that I did and stuff. My mum provided everything for us. She was unaware about having the need to have a £100 Armani jumper. So we'd mob and we'd rob,
Mobbing and a robbing does pretty much what it says on the tin.
We started doing organised smash and grabs. So you had Jenner's department store in Edinburgh, and it was probably it had sold a lot of sort of nice gear at the time that they would have jumpers at £90. But you couldn't afford them. So how do you get them? You go and steal them. But you don't go in the shop and steal them. You wait till night time, there's nobody in the shop, and you and your pals, 20 years, organise the streets, and then you go and you smash the window and you climb in the store and you help yourself. And Jenner's got done maybe about 20 times in about a year.
Dressed up to the nines, the Hybees crew began to travel Scotland. They were young, cocky and fearless.
It was excitement, it was enjoyment. We're going away with your pals, walking through the centre of Glasgow, singing to the Addams Family. Do you remember the Addams Family? Singing the Addams Family, the Hybees family, da-da-da-da, ooh, ooh, da-da. And 10,000 shoppers are going, who are these people coming into our sacred city?
It was clear that running the crew was no longer just about football. Thanks to his firm, he was making money by selling the expensive designer clothing on the black market. But the profits from their mobbing and a robbing were relatively small time. Bradley was aware of the fear that the Hybees crew had instilled in Edinburgh.
Basically, I always remember the club scene as just getting absolutely fucking on pills and sort of dancing our heads off.
In the late 80s, house music completely revolutionised the Edinburgh club scene.
There was only maybe a nucleus of 800 people in Edinburgh that actually knew about the dance scene. Everybody else was going to your Buster Browns and that and dancing with their handbags with big high-heel shaggy shoes on,
The old cliche about if you remember the 90s, you weren't there kind of thing. So I think it was a wee bit like that, like the late 80s, early 90s was a bit like that in Edinburgh as elsewhere.
With the music came the drugs. soon everyone was loved up on ease.
When the whole ecstasy thing hit, people who wouldn't speak to each other started speaking to each other. It's a cliche, but it was all over the country. That was the way. And people who used to like fight each other would be happy to stand in the same club.
But Bradley wasn't there for the music or the drugs. He was there for the money.
I know about as much about his music as I do as I've got in that little pinky. I was not interested in music. I was interested in the money aspect of it.
Many club owners at the time were scared of the Hibs casuals causing trouble on their premises. So Bradley saw this as an opportunity to capitalise on his position and notoriety. He went into business with a company called Westland Security, who provided the muscle on the doors of some of Edinburgh's biggest clubs. But Westland wanted more contracts, and Bradley's role was to go and get them.
Edinburgh was known for, its casual thing, and I just saw the opportunity with that there, yeah? All these bar and club owners that were sort of, hiring security to try and keep these supposed troublemakers out. So I went out there and overnight, maybe got them 3/4 of the doors in Edinburgh.
Before long, the doors of most of Edinburgh's clubs were controlled by Bradley and Westland.
Because I was in the overdrive now. I was 17 years old, just turning 18, and I thought I was Don Corleone. I thought that this is it, I can do whatever I want. I was fearless, I was being predacious with people, overpowering people, and I was a kick, you know what I mean?
Bradley hadn't just been running the doors, he also had a vested interest in the success of certain venues. He was putting on his own nights at some of the clubs and coining it in. He wanted his nights to do well and competing nights to foul, and he was in a position to make it happen.
So if this place was going to come up in competition, my objective was to fuck the place, was to annihilate it and get it closed down. This is 1988, yeah? And there's 3 clubs in competition. Then if there are 2 clubs or 3 clubs and all there, then you've got all the prize.
So running the door, I mean, being on the door anyway, at 17, did anyone try and take the piss, do you know what I mean? Because they just thought you was fucking...
Of course they did.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
it was like, out the way, son.
Yeah.
He'd ended up running the doors of hundreds of clubs across the city. I find it astonishing that at the age of 17, he was a major kingpin in Edinburgh's shady underworld.
Brad did have a reputation in and around town. Sometimes I think with any reputation it kind of blows itself out of all proportion depending on who's telling the story and what the audience is. But for sure Brad could handle himself, could take care of himself, and at points where it was necessary I'm sure he did, and I'm sure he looked out for our club interest and his own, so.
Bradley was starting to use more and more extreme measures to muscle his way into business. He was even rumoured to be using guns.
Well, I'd done that for the end of one of them, for a gun basically, and a word, yeah? But I would know something, I would rather have a gun in my hand than a kind word, yeah? So, and it was wrong what I'd done, but I just basically took the competition out of the game, yeah? I was more psychological than I was ever with violence, because the fear of something is always worse than the actual event itself, yeah? And what I'd done was I was very good at climbing inside people's heads and taking control of them and making them do what I wanted them to do.
In the space of 10 years, he'd gone from boxer to football casual to club godfather. But being such a prominent figure in the city, it wasn't long before the old Bill started to take an interest in Bradley's clubland activities. They suspected Bradley had been using firearms to back up his threats. In response, they mounted a massive police operation to take down the teenage godfather.
With the police trying to put together 6 months surveillance, and my house was bugged, they were bugging my telephone calls.
The police were closing in on Scotland's youngest gangster, and another chapter in his whirlwind life was about to begin. Prison.
The police, in their infinite wisdom, and correctly so, decided to take me up and drop me right to prison.
Sorry, jump, pal, we jump.
I've come north of the border to Scotland's capital to meet Bradley Welsh. He's revealed to me how he had risen to a position of godfather-like prominence by crushing rival clubs and security firms through threats and intimidation. By 17, his CV also included being the leader of a 200-strong football firm, orchestrating massive shop robberies, both home and abroad, and hundreds of boxing bouts, the majority of which he won. going to discover the party is about to come to an end. The police had been tracking Bradley for 6 months and had even bugged his telephone. His and his mum's world was about to come crashing down.
I can remember it like it was yesterday. You were at your work. I was just finishing work in the Haymarket bar, and a friend came to say that Bradley had been arrested that day, early that day, 11 or 12, I'm not quite sure what time it was. And that was the beginning of the whole nightmare.
Unbeknown to his family, Bradley was in serious trouble.
The biggest shock in my life when I was at home on my own. It was about a week after he had been arrested, and we still knew nothing at this time. And I knock at the door, and I was in the house myself, and there was 4 big 6-footers in suits with a warrant to search the house. And I'm probably what they call naive or whatever, let them in and let them search. At that time I didn't know they were actually searching for, unbelievably, a gun. God almighty, unbelievable, so frightening.
A case was brought against Bradley at Edinburgh High Court.
Even though there was 3 main charges, they consisted of about 70 sub-charges. I can remember getting it and nobody had seen the indictment when it came. It came through my cell door and it nearly broke a hole in the floor, the size of it, yeah. I took it to my lawyer and I looked it over and he just turned the first page, turned the second page, kept turning the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th page. And he just said, I said, how's it looking? He went, you're fucked.
The charges were very serious. They included extortion and demanding £5,000 at gunpoint. But he was cleared on both of these counts. His family expected him to be home later that evening.
Alan stood waiting to hear the sentence, and he says to the lawyers, Bradley will be coming home tonight to the QC. And the QC replied to Alan and said, Alan, it's not over yet. It's brilliant news, it's a good result, but he's still got to, got to go back in here. So, and Alan said, no, I'll never forget his words. He says, Bradley will be having a steak pie at the All Night Bakers tonight, along with us.
But it wasn't to be. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison for possession of ammunition and menaces against an estate agent. The king of the club scene would spend his 21st birthday behind bars.
It was total devastation. I remember the first night we both went home for the court, and you went into his bedroom, and it was like a death in the family. Hey, remember you saying that when you walked into his room? And the room was unusually clean and tidy. And that was it for nearly 4 years.
Bradley's new accommodation was full of inmates from rival firms who knew him from his hooligan days. They had old scores to settle, and he received a warm Glaswegian welcome.
And as I get there, I remember walking over the yard. You had to go to the Edinburgh side, and the next minute it was about 200 Glaswegians hanging out their window, shaking their bars and stuff, banging their thing with Brad Welsh, you're getting it in the morning, we'll see you, you're getting stabbed, you're getting this. And again, it just seems that all my life, my name and the reputation that's been following me about.
The threats weren't empty. Bradley was forced to fight for survival and was punished by the wardens.
I had certain problems I had to deal with from a violent side, yeah, which resulted in me being and being put in a place called the Digger, which is solitary confinement. And a couple of incidents that happened led to me being restrained in a straitjacket.
It must have been tough for Bradley when he went inside. This was a bloke who had been in control of everything he'd done in his life up till now, whether it was in the ring or on the streets. And now he'd hit rock bottom, lying on the floor of a prison cell in a straitjacket, separated from his friends and family, he'd never felt more alone. Then suddenly, the simplest of things began to pick him up.
I was lying in a prison cell in the middle of nowhere, God-forsaken, forgotten, lying thinking, what's happening? In a straitjacket, can't move, and this sack of mail came into the cell because I had to deliver it to me, and they opened it up and it all fell on the floor.
Within Bradley's mail was a series of postcards from Hibs casuals sent to him whilst on a day out in London to meet the infamous Millwall.
My brother and all his friends and stuff, and all my ex-friends were there as well. They took about 200 boys down to Millwall. It's well documented, and sort of Millwall at that time were perceived as the #1 numero uno of the football hooligan element. And the young Hibs mob, vibrant and boisterous as they were, went down and sort of caned them, shall we call it.
As the lads travelled the length of the country, they'd sent postcards from every place they'd stopped along the way.
And here I am lying on the floor, trying to turn the postcards over to read them. I had tears streaming down my eyes. The emotion that I felt at that time was unbelievable. It was overwhelming, to tell you the truth. It sort of made me think and reflect that, you know, if I had just stayed on that path and just been a normal football hooligan, then things would have been okay. But here I was looking at maybe potentially 15 years in prison.
Great fighters always get back up. Bradley was about to do the same.
We used to say, you're knocked down, you'll never be knocked out, you know, you'll come up again. Because you've got to, you know, stand up and
just get on.
And so it was to be Bradley's first passion, boxing, that would get him back on his feet. All the time that he was involved in the club scene, Bradley had kept up his boxing, and he was not just any old contender. As Scottish Eastern District champ, he was on the verge of representing Britain at the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona.
he was actually on the Olympic select team. And instead of going there, he was locked up. Couldn't believe it.
Bradley never did fight for Britain at the Olympics. He was too busy fighting for himself. But amongst his many enemies on the inside, there was an unexpected friendly face who would help him turn a corner. Prison warden Ian Duff had represented Scotland at amateur boxing level and knew Bradley.
After a short discussion, he made it perfectly clear that he really wanted to progress as soon as he could, and indeed he was wondering if there was any possibility of training and what training he could do when he was here.
With the backing of Ian Duff and the prison services, Bradley started training. Boxing was about to change Bradley's life again.
I think it was his first experience of prison, and indeed it was a great shock to him, especially when he was so young and had so much to look forward to, and indeed a very talented boxer. So therefore, I think he felt that his career was over completely, and I think he was able to prove to him that wasn't necessarily the case.
Today, Bradley's coming back to the prison where his rehabilitation began.
I've travelled this road many times, in prison vans and in normal cars, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, there's no fear or trepidation from it, but I'm looking forward to seeing the people doing it.
For the first time in 15 years, he's going to meet the man who helped him fight back.
Mr. Duff, long time no see, son. Good to see you, mate.
You too. Hey, you're looking good.
I can. I put all this weight on the way.
Here, tell me about it.
No. Cheers, mate.
Okay, man. Remember this, Brad?
Yeah, that was cell over there. Yeah, wasn't it?
I think it was cell number 6. I think that was
cell 6. It was, I believe.
It
was cell 6. Aye. Is somebody in it?
There's nobody in it at the moment, I don't think. But when I look at it, remember that?
Brings back memories, isn't it? Brings back memories.
Well, actually, I remember. See, when you first came in I said to you earlier, I remember. The desk used to be, I remember you used to have the desk.
I remember the hot plate that used to be there as well, yeah.
Yeah, so the hot plate was there.
There wasn't a ceiling here that here, and this has all been sealed off, eh?
So, well,
it used to be like a proper landing, yeah.
So you had the stairs along. Remember, you tripped down the stairs along there as well.
That's right, eh? Do you know what I mean? It does bring back. Initially, I thought I wouldn't be so responsive to the emotions that I'm having, but Ken, being locked up, it's no fun, mate, is it? For anybody, it's no fun being locked up 23 hours a day, or even behind the door, no liberties, no family, no contact, no good for anybody. Just looks the same, Mr. Duff, do you know that?
You've got the multi-gym there.
Same multi-gym it is.
Used to do a wee bit of bag work and stuff over there, remember?
I remember we used to put a few bags in it up here and stuff.
There's the hook still there.
There's a hook still up there, aye. Now that takes me back. Does it still get used, is it?
That's it, yep.
The last time Ian had seen Bradley before prison was 10 years earlier, when Bradley had been the mascot for the Scottish amateur boxing team that Ian captained.
I thought, I recognised that name, and I thought, it absolutely can't be the same guy. So I came along to the cell, opened the door, looked at him and went, oh, for goodness sake, Brad, what are you doing here?
Exactly.
And if you remember, you were actually shadowboxing at the time, and you looked at me, and I just thought, it was just sort of that, oh God, no, you know.
That's true, I remember that. I was shadowboxing that. I think I had a wee bit of problems and stuff like that, but it was a guiding light for me to be able to train again and to have somebody to focus on and know the nonsense that was going on, because let's face it, endemically within a hall back in that time, you know, it was like a fucking monkey house, wasn't it? But being in prison, you've been denied your family contact, denied your... I loved my mum and my nephews, my brother and my friends and stuff, and to be taken away from them, it's not a good experience. I mean, I understand that some people out there, prison is viewed as an occupational hazard, and it doesn't have to be like that. You know, there's other things that you can do, especially in this day and age.
Bradley started to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
There's only one rule when you're in a place like this, to get back out, that's it. So on the Monday, the prison, they took me on a prison bus, up to a competition in Glasgow. And I boxed in the Western District. I knocked the guy out in the first round.
Bradley was back.
And then I get a phone call to the prison on the Sunday saying, could I box for Scotland against Italy?
Despite still being kept at Her Majesty's pleasure, he was about to represent his country.
So again, I'm put in a prison van, taken up to Glasgow. I beat the guy as well, I beat the Italian champion on the Tuesday.
3 days later, he was back for the Western District final.
And the Friday again, same routine again, back up in the prison van, went out on the Friday, and I won the Western District Championships, which I believe I'm the only person that won the East Stand Western District Championship. But in 1 week, I boxed for Scotland, beat the Italian champion, knocked the guy out on the Monday, beat the Italian champion on the Tuesday, and then won the Western Districts on the Friday.
When Bradley was released from prison, he went from strength to strength.
Some 12 weeks later, after being released, I fought in the semi-finals of the British and beat the last year's British champion. Then, some 2 weeks later, I was away to Italy to box against Italy, then away to Turkey to the championships, and away to Canada. So things were sort of a wee whirlwind.
Bradley was at the top of the amateur game and decided that now was the time to put his troubled past behind him, leave Edinburgh and become a pro. He travelled to Miami to meet legendary boxing trainer Angelo Dundee, the man behind some of the world's greatest boxers, including Muhammad Ali.
There was a Cuban guy at the same time as me in it, and he was in the ring shadowboxing. And the Cuban guy had literally just swam from Cuba to come to Miami. And there was a delegate from Miami there with him, the Cuban delegate there, and they brought him to the gym because he was an ex-Cuban boxer. And Angelo Dundee's sitting, and I'm wrapping my hands one day with my pal Kenny, and Angelo Dundee's sitting at the ringside watching the guy shadowboxing and doing a bit of bag work, and Angelo Dundee runs over and goes, yeah, this kid's got it. We can make a lot of money from him. And to me, that's what I've said about boxing. The people that run this game and perpetrate it, it's for money. Not the amateurs. Amateurs is great, but the professional game, it's about money. This guy's just fucking swam from Miami, and he's sitting going, we can make a lot of money for this kid. So anyway, I found the great Angelo Dundee. He didn't match up to be the man that I thought he would be anyway.
Dundee's attitude illustrated to Bradley that pro boxing was run by shady characters who were only in it for the money, an attitude that reminded him of the gangster past he was trying to escape. Disillusioned by Dundee's approach, he headed north to New York City, where he made a big impression on two locals.
So we were doing road work, and at night time we used to go over to Central Park. We lived right on it in Harlem, and we were in there doing road work. So Kenny's down there with the stopwatch stuff. I'm just lumbering up to doing a series of sprints. And we trained in Gleason's gym in New York. And next one I hear, give me your fucking money, man, give me your money. And I was like, what's that? Next one, it's two guys appeared from the bush with a big blade, big knife and stuff, and all one's at the side. Going, give me your fucking money, man, I'm going to cut you, I'm going to cut you. And I'm like lumbering up and stuff and going, guys, come on, you're picking on the wrong guy here. And I'm like, give me your fucking money, man. I'm obviously a drug addict. I was like, mate, I says, here, I've got money here. Bash, bash. Sparkled two of them. Kenny's came running doing, chasing the other one. But eventually called the guy back. Went, mate, come and get your 2 minutes. Of course, they're getting up like drunk men, falling about. I mean, it's no big feet knocking at two junkies, is it? But it was quite funny.
Next stop was LA, where he turned pro. He had 10 fights with 9 wins, 7 knockouts and 1 defeat. It was the end of Bradley's pro career. He was disgusted by the greed and exploitation within the sport.
I was pissed off with the game, you know. The thing about professional boxing is, you know, it's down to you as an individual, and all power to anybody that makes it, because it's really them, the managers and promoters, they do very little to subsidise you financially or, you know, travel-wise, emotionally as well. So it's a lot of strain on a young fighter. It's not a game to be on, you better stick it to football, yeah?
But he couldn't completely give up on the sport that helped save him. Bradley Welsh crammed more into his first 25 years than most people would in a lifetime. From boxer to hooligan, to gangster, to convict, and back again. Throughout everything he'd done, there was one person he tried to protect, his mum. And when she became ill, Bradley re-evaluated his priorities.
When my mum got quite sick, yeah, she got quite ill, so it was, you know, she had spondylitis in her lower spine, so she needed quite a bit of care and stuff, and I've been her carer since then. And so the years, the amount sort of just roll into each year, don't they? And I was happy, I mean, I was happy, but I wasn't doing anything. I was living in denial of myself, because I was hiding from myself. I didn't want to go out and do anything. I could have went out and done clubs, or I could have went out and done promotion or anything. I got offered jobs for advertising agencies and stuff like that. I didn't want to do it. I was happy living in my wee cocoon, reading books and studying things, and just happy and looking after my mum. And then what happens, my mum got, she got cancer, yeah, which was quite a big blow for us, and that's been a few years now, and she's undergoing to recover of it big time, yeah. She had a 6-month clear and stuff like that, but that was a big shock. My mum was the closest person in the world to me.
Although he's left his criminal career behind, it wasn't until she saw my programme about his hooligan past that she started to fully understand the extent of her son's colourful history.
I mean, I was totally amazed watching that and listening to Bradley. You know, where the hell were we when all this was?
We were working.
But believe me, they had it well, and he is, you know, and he knows that.
Now it's Bradley's devotion to his family that has helped him leave his past behind.
So suffice it to say, yes, I'm a little mummy's boy, yeah, and I always will be, yeah, always will be. I'm a family guy, that's what I'm about. It's for family. What else? All the money in the world, all the big cars, all the houses, all for what? You can't buy what's inside here, or what you have with your people.
Bradley's transformation doesn't end with caring for his mum. Today, he's a respected figure in the community. Disillusioned with the world of professional boxing, he opened a gym in the tough part of Edinburgh, offering facilities and his knowledge to local kids on a strictly amateur basis.
How did this gym come about then?
Well, just obviously having a boxing background myself, yeah, I had 30 years experience in boxing, and I just thought, you know, the boxing gym, university has always been somewhere that people sort of, you know, gather and congregate, and I've just seen my lifetime experience after coming through all that criminal stuff. You know, if you train, yeah, you're in touch with yourself, yeah, it's physically, you know, your mind focuses, yeah. I just think it's a great way to touch people. I've been here for 2 and a bit years now, and we do like 300 people through the door every week, yeah. So it's demanding. I mean, that's 300 people. It's like being a social worker, yeah. People come in, they've got their own problems, but I just believe that when you train, you know, you get rid of that part. It's a great way. Physical activity is the best. Any sport, doesn't matter whether it's boxing, judo, karate, whatever. Any kind of physical activity is going to touch somebody.
Now, physical activity is not one of our strong points, but Bradley and the crew insisted. It was time for me to put the gloves on and have a little go myself.
Get that left foot forward, then I want you to look at that shot. No, so fist. Take your time, tell that left hand to come and hit that. Jab. In the middle, it's just a deltoid, it's an easy jab. Good, fucking fantastic. Watch this though, boom and pull back. Good, go, good, and again, good. You fucking Danny boy's done this before, mate. Double.
This was hardly what I spent my days off doing, and I was starting to wish I smoked a bit less.
Look at the spots. Go. Go, go, go. Not bad, but you never looked at the spot.
He's certainly a tough taskmaster. I can see that he still has a glint of a fighter in his eye, and now he channels that fighting spirit into helping others in his hometown.
Look, no, lift up. Look, no, too low. Who you fighting? It's fucking, look, West Ham Millwall, look, fucking what's happening? Up here, mate. Look, up, look, back, boom, look, bingo!
Needless to say, Ricky Hatton won't be having any sleepless nights.
I'm so unfit, mate, it's unbelievable. I need to get up here, mate, I tell you. You know what I mean?
I'd probably struggle against Ricky Martin.
But that's not sparring, that's padlock. Tell you what, he's got a lot of potential. If the acting game didn't work out, he can certainly come up here.
Good boy.
All right?
Good boy.
Good man.
At a very young age, Bradley had power, money and notoriety, but ultimately that wasn't important to him. Now, after paying the price for his criminal past with 3 years of his freedom, he's come to realise what is important.
Never let anybody get him down, and I'm like that as well. You can only go so far down, and there's only one place to go, boy, and that's up.
Back up again, eh?
And it's not even a case of if at first you don't succeed. There was never any question in our minds. He would come home and he would carry on. And he did, and that is the proudest moment of our life.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Everybody gets knocked down. Everybody gets knocked down. How quick are you gonna get up?
People that are criminals and seek to gain financially. To buy what? Can you buy your family? Can you buy your friends? When you lose your money, you lose nothing. When you lose your health, you lose something. When you lose your character, you lose everything. And that's something that we've got in abundance.